Chapter 23-29. Qianlan didn't expect that Yi Qinghan would actually want to be the instructor of the Qian clan's disciples. This was equivalent to a technique imparting elder. He would be in contact with the Qian clan's top immortal technique manuals. It wasn't something that anyone could do. Moreover, the Qian clan already had an instructor who was also an outsider. He was also a high-level heaven immortal expert who was only half a step away from the mystic immortal realm. Brother, it's not that I don't want to accept you, but we already have an instructor. Moreover, this matter needs to be reported to the clan head before he can make a decision. Qianlan didn't know what to do. She didn't want to offend Yi Qinghan, but she also wanted to keep him. After all, this combat technique was too terrifying. Yi Qinghan smiled confidently and said indifferently, "Let the instructor fight with me. At the same time, ask the clan head to see if I have the qualifications to be the Qian clan's instructor. If the Qian clan can't let me be the instructor, then I will leave." The Qian clan cherished talents and loved them even more. Yi Qinghan was indeed a monster. It could be seen from his sword that pierced through the stone tablet. His skillful combat technique was absolutely top-notch. If they missed this opportunity, it would be impossible to find such a monster again. Qianlan looked at Yi Qinghan. Even though he was a spiritual body, the position of instructor depended on his understanding of mystic techniques and combat techniques. It depended on how he could impart his lifelong knowledge to the Qian clan's children. Combat techniques shouldn't be underestimated. In the same realm, combat techniques were the key to victory. If Yi Qinghan could nurture a few heaven immortals who were similar to him and had a physical body, the Qian clan didn't lack money. If they could buy some high-level mystic immortal grade immortal treasures, then the Qian clan would have mystic immortals. Yi Qinghan looked at Qianlan with an abnormally firm attitude. If the Qian clan didn't agree to let him be the instructor, then he would leave. Because his goal was a truly powerful mystic immortal grade mystic technique. "Brother Yi, wait for me to inform the clan head. Don't leave," Qianlan said seriously. Yi Qinghan nodded and watched as Qianlan left. He then sat cross-legged on the ground to adjust his breathing. Recently, he had been constantly on the run and was truly exhausted. If he could hide in the Qian clan for 100 years, his cultivation realm would increase by a minor realm and his battle prowess would increase by dozens of times. That would be the best outcome. The tens of thousands of young disciples of the Qian clan stopped cultivating and looked at Yi Qinghan from afar. Their faces were filled with envy and admiration. For a soul body to be able to do this, it was more than 1 in 10,000. Only the top monstrous geniuses in the Center God province could do it. There were less than 10 people who could do it. Yi Qinghan's soul quickly recovered and calmed down. The aura on his body was faintly discernible. Then he swallowed a few more soul-type immortal medicines. Although their grades weren't high, they were supreme treasures to him. At this moment, a young disciple of the Qian clan walked up and bowed. "Master, this soul-type immortal pill is not bad. You can try it." Yi Qinghan opened his eyes slightly and looked at this young man from the Qian clan. He was only 14 or 15 years old and looked very delicate. There was a heroic spirit between his eyebrows and the light in his eyes was abnormally lively. It could be seen that this person was very smart and had good talent. If he was given a rating, he would get 8 points. To be able to get 8 points in Yi Qinghan's heart, it was 1 in a million. The only one who could get full marks was Lin Wuden. The rest of the people could only get 8 points at most. Yi Qinghan smiled slightly and didn't refuse. He took the soul-type immortal pill and found that the immortal soul power inside was very rich. The fragrance assailed his nose and stimulated his soul. He swallowed it. In a split second, his soul seemed to have ascended. His soul was constantly being tempered and improved by leaps and bounds. The original hidden injuries on his soul were quickly erased. Whoosh! Yi Qinghan's body bloomed with immortal light. The dragon's aura was even stronger, forcing the 4-year-old child to keep retreating. He looked at him with a face of horror. The 14 or 15-year-old youth's cultivation was only at the spirit immortal realm. At this moment, he also took a few steps back. He was suppressed by Yi Qinghan's aura to the point that he couldn't breathe. However, he was unwilling to retreat. He looked at Yi Qinghan with determination. After a long time, Yi Qinghan slowly opened his eyes. He looked at the little guy in front of him and couldn't help but smile. He said calmly, "What's your name?" "Master, my name is Qian Shuezhong," the little guy said with a bow. Yi Qinghan looked at Qian Shuezhong, who was at the little spirit immortal realm. He still had a physical body, but it was too weak. He was far from being a genius. His overall battle strength couldn't be considered a king among his peers. However, his intelligence could surpass his peers. Not bad. I can nurture him. Stand aside and don't leave. Yi Qinghan put his hands behind his back and straightened his back. He looked at the west side of the martial cultivation field and saw Qian Lan and 3 powerful Immortal Heaven Immortal Realm experts rapidly approaching. One of the Immortal Heaven Immortal Realm experts was full of hostility. He was the current instructor of the Qian family, Lu Zhenlong. The other 2 looked suspicious. One of them was a dignified old man. He was the head of the Qian family, Qian Sihai. He looked to be in his 60s. His cultivation wasn't high, but he was full of a superior aura. He had white hair and a youthful face. His eyes were full of wisdom. The entire Qian family was built by him step by step. He was definitely not a simple person. The other Heaven Immortal Realm expert was the top expert of the Qian family's younger generation, Qian Shuilong. He looked to be about the same age as Yi Qinghan. He was at the early stage Heaven Immortal Realm. However, his king's aura was very strong. He looked very handsome and bright. However, he was suspicious of Yi Qinghan. He even hated him because he was nurtured by the current instructor. Whoosh! A figure flashed and appeared in front of Yi Qinghan. The burly figure stood in front of Yi Qinghan and looked down at Yi Qinghan. He said disdainfully, "How dare a soul of an early-stage Heaven Immortal Realm challenge me? Who gave you such confidence?" Lu Zhenlong had a glorious life. He had been a mercenary for 300,000 years. In his mercenary life, he had carried out more than 60,000 missions and only failed once. However, he couldn't tolerate his failure. In the end, he quit the mercenary hall. However, his reputation in Longyang City had always been like the sun at noon. Who below the Qian Immortal Realm dared not to give him face? Yi Qinghan slightly raised the corner of his mouth. He took half a step back and looked at Lu Zhenlong. He replied indifferently, "Of course it's my strength that gives me such confidence. Since Instructor Lu is so confident, why are you afraid of my challenge? You're courting death." Lu Zhenlong was very hot-tempered. He was about to kill Yi Qinghan. At this moment, Qian Sihai, the head of the Qian family, quickly stood between the 2 of them and said with a smile, "Don't worry, my Qian family cherishes talents. Every expert should be treated well. Since it's a challenge, it should be a fair fight. If Instructor Lu doesn't agree, I'm willing to give fellow Yi a satisfactory position." Lu Zhenlong snorted and looked at the heavy sword on the stone tablet. The heavy sword had penetrated the stone tablet. His pupils shrank and he thought, "If I can't penetrate this stone tablet when I'm at the middle stage Heaven Immortal Realm, how did this guy do it when he's just a soul?" At this time, Qian Sihai and Qian Shuilong both stared at the heavy sword. They were obviously shocked. They were afraid that they couldn't do this even when they were at their peak. However, it was obvious that Yi Qinghan could do it when he was still in a tired state. In terms of combat strength, Yi Qinghan could kill them instantly. Whoosh! Bang! Qian Shuilong reached out and pulled out the heavy sword. However, the stone tablet shattered. The order and energy inside the stone tablet had been destroyed by the immortal killing formation. It was like an ordinary stone. It was fine when the sword was still in the stone, but once it was pulled out, the stone tablet shattered. At this time, everyone gasped. If this sword pierced through the middle stage Heaven Immortal Realm expert, it meant that the middle stage Heaven Immortal Realm expert would be dead. Chapter 23:30. Everyone was shocked. Yi Qinghan's sword had reached a realm that no one could understand. At this time, even Lu Zhenlong was stunned. With his current strength, it was absolutely impossible for him to achieve such a sword. If he fought with Yi Qinghan, as long as Yi Qinghan's defense was good enough, he wouldn't be able to win. Qian Sihai also discovered that Yi Qinghan's combat strength wasn't simply terrifying, It had reached the level of a demon. If it was a fair fight, Lu Zhenlong would be crushed. He and Lu Zhenlong could be considered good friends, so he didn't want to affect their relationship because of Yi Qinghan, so he said, teaching disciples not only relies on combat strength, but also a good realm and a good teaching method. My Qian family's instructors not only teach the children cultivation, but also how to conduct themselves. This old man thinks that you can teach some children and then compare them. The strength of the children will represent your teaching level. What do you think? A strong dragon couldn't suppress a snake in its old haunts. Lu Zhenlong was a snake in its old haunts, while Yi Qinghan was a ferocious dragon. However, he didn't want to offend Lu Zhenlong, so he nodded and agreed. Although Lu Zhenlong was arrogant, he wasn't crazy. Yi Qinghan had already exceeded his scope of understanding. That sword was enough to explain the problem. Therefore, he hoped to surpass Yi Qinghan in teaching methods and protect his status and reputation. Naturally, he wouldn't reject Qian Sihai's suggestion. 10 years. Both of you will choose a group of young disciples. After 10 years, the two of you will compete in both civil and martial arts. Whoever has more disciples and is more outstanding will represent their side's victory. Qian Sihai's face was full of smiles. He tried his best to give the two of them enough face. As the saying goes, one doesn't hit a smiling face. Yi Qinghan and Lu Zhenlong had to rely on the Qian family to make a living, so they naturally wouldn't refute anything. As for fellow Taoist Ye's salary, it will be the same as Brother Lu's for the time being. 1 million celestial coins a year. What do you two think? Qian Sihai stared at Yi Qinghan and asked. Yi Qinghan nodded. He didn't really care about his salary, but he cared more about the Qian clan's mystic immortal grade mental cultivation technique. As long as he could encounter a mystic immortal grade mental cultivation technique, it was more important than anything else. Then fellow Taoist Yi and Brother Lu can choose your disciples, Qian Sihai said with a smile. Yi Qinghan faintly pointed at Qian Xuezhong and said, I want this Qian Xuezhong. I'll let Dao friend Lu choose first. Qian Xuezhong was overjoyed, but he didn't show it. It wasn't that he was afraid of offending Lu Zhenlong, but he felt that if he showed it, it would be disrespectful to Lu Zhenlong. Lu Zhenlong snorted and said disdainfully, You choose first, lest you say that this old man is bullying you. Yi Qinghan smiled silently and looked at the nearly 30,000 disciples. There were about 10,000 young disciples of the Qian clan in the direct line, so the average distribution was about 5,000 people. He casually split the middle and said, The eastern half will be mine, and the other half will be Dao friend Lu's. The 10-year period will depend on the overall strength of each disciple. What do you think? It was very fair to split them in half, and Lu Zhenlong had no reason to be picky. He was very familiar with teaching this group of young children. Yi Qinghan's half wasn't considered good. Only Qian Xuezhong's talent was okay, but his physical body was too weak and he was too lazy to cultivate his physical body. His potential in this lifetime was only SOSO, so Lu Zhenlong didn't have any objections. Xuezhong, you're in charge of this team. Give me the name list of this team. Write down their cultivation, specialties, talent, and other strengths and weaknesses, and give them to me, including your own. I'll use it tomorrow, Yi Qinghan said faintly. Qian Xuezhong quickly bowed and said, Yes, instructor. Qian Sihai was full of smiles. Splitting into two teams meant that the Qian clan's disciples would compete with each other. It would only be good for the Qian clan. Paying Yi Qinghan 1 million extra each year wasn't a lot, but the overall benefits outweighed the disadvantages. If Yi Qinghan was really capable, it would naturally be better if he could cultivate a few more super heaven immortals for the Qian clan. Dao friend Yi, I'll give you a welcome dinner today. By the way, I'll tell you what resources you need. I'll try my best to help you, Qian Sihai said with a smile. Yi Qinghan nodded and signaled Qian Sihai to lead the way. Qianlan was full of smiles and left the training field with Yi Qinghan side by side. On the training field, Qian Xuezhong began to get busy. He gathered the group of more than 5,000 people. There were people of all levels, and there were even a few immature children. They were at most 7 or 8 years old and were in the mortal realm. Qian Xuezhong asked a few good friends to help him divide the group into levels and quickly wrote down everyone's information. In the main hall of the Qian residence, Qian Sihai was full of smiles like a kind grandfather. He didn't put on any airs, but no one was willing to challenge the dignity in his bones. Yi Qinghan sat in the main seat, accompanied by Qian Lan. Opposite him was Lu Zhenlong, accompanied by Qian Shuilong. There were only 5 people in the main hall, and they represented the highest status in the Qian clan. The servants of the Qian residence delivered the best immortal wine dishes and high-grade immortal fruits. Each of them was priceless, and only the upper echelons of the clan were qualified to enjoy them. Yi Qinghan didn't stand on ceremony. He usually couldn't afford to eat these things. Many of them were beneficial to the soul, so he started eating. Qian Sihai looked at Yi Qinghan and didn't think much of it. However, Qian Shuilong and Lu Zhenlong's eyes were full of disdain. They felt that Yi Qinghan was really from a remote village and hadn't seen much of the world. Qian Lan could only smile apologetically. She toasted Yi Qinghan while entertaining Lu Zhenlong. After Yi Qinghan ate a lot of food, he leaned on the chair and said, "Clan head Qian, to be honest, I won't be staying in the Qian clan for too long. I will leave after I nurture an expert comparable to a Qian immortal. However, the resources I want might be a little exaggerated. Clan head Qian hopes that you can cooperate." Lu Zhenlong mocked in disdain. "Surnamed Yi, don't choke on your words. You want to nurture an expert comparable to a Qian immortal? How long? 1 million years or 2 million years?" Yi Qinghan raised a finger and said confidently, "At most, 1,000 years. Whether I am bragging or not, we will know within 1,000 years." Qian Lan looked at Yi Qinghan. Although she didn't believe in Yi Qinghan, she was still looking forward to Yi Qinghan's promise. The Qian clan didn't lack money or resources. What they lacked was a Qian immortal expert. Lu Zhenlong didn't want to mock Yi Qinghan anymore. Everything depended on strength. Qian Sihai was looking forward to the appearance of a Qian immortal expert in the Qian clan. In order to nurture a Qian immortal expert, he had spent a lot of money. Therefore, he wasn't afraid of wasting his efforts this time. If there was an opportunity, he had to try. He said, "Then Taoist Yi, what resources do you need?" Yi Qinghan still hoped to obtain the Dragon Scale Soul Guard Bell. However, that thing was probably not something the Qian clan could possess. Therefore, he settled for the next best thing and said, "It's best if you have a Qian Immortal Soul Defense Immortal Artifact. If it's really difficult, a Heaven Immortal Soul Defense Immortal Artifact will do too. This immortal artifact is for me. As for the resources for those children, prepare a lot of body refinement resources. I need them all, from ordinary body refinement pills to Heaven Immortal level body refinement resources. The most important thing is that the quantity and quality can keep up." A Qian Immortal Soul Defense Immortal Artifact was worth tens of millions to hundreds of millions of celestial coins. The Qian clan could afford it, but it was impossible for them to give it to an outsider. Therefore, Qian Sihai hesitated for a moment and said with a bitter smile, "The best Heaven Immortal Soul Defense Immortal Artifact is around 10 million. It's no different from the lowest Qian Immortal level. Although my Qian clan doesn't lack money, how do I know if Mr. Yi can nurture a Qian Immortal expert for my Qian clan?" Yi Qinghan naturally understood Qian Sihai's worries. He said, "Then let's talk about it after I defeat Taoist Lu in 10 years. Just prepare enough body refinement resources for me." Chapter 23:31. Lu Zhenlong took Yi Qinghan's words as a challenge, even if Yi Qinghan was telling the truth. Lu Zhenlong and Yi Qinghan were at loggerheads, and the atmosphere in the lobby was a little strange. However, as long as the two of them did not leave the Qian family, Qian Sihai would be happy to see the two of them fight and maintain a stable balance. Qian Sihai had expressed his goodwill twice. Of course, he was more inclined towards Lu Zhenlong. After all, he knew so many people and knew everything about Lu Zhenlong. As for Yi Qinghan, at most, he would make use of him to see if he could cultivate a true expert. Yi Qinghan did not care and was not willing to communicate anymore. His goal was the immortal technique and salary. As long as these two things were in place, he did not care whether Yi Qinghan was making use of him or not. "Just open the library to me." Yi Qinghan stood up and bowed to Qian Sihai and the others, waiting for Qian Sihai to agree. Qian Sihai hesitated for a moment and decided to take a gamble. He nodded and agreed. Then he gave Yi Qinghan a waste token and said, "Fellow Taoist Yi, this is my waste token. It allows you to enter and exit the library freely. No one will stop you." Yi Qinghan took the waste token, bowed again with cupped fists, and then left the lobby. In the lobby, Qian Shuilong spoke directly. He bowed and said, "Grandpa, this Yi Feng has an unknown background. Isn't it too risky to open the library to him directly?" Lu Zhenlong naturally stood on Qian Shuilong's side and hoped that Qian Sihai would reconsider. Qian Sihai sighed and said, "Shuilong, brother Lu, you know the situation of the Qian family. Without a mystic immortal, so what if we have money? Our fate is in the hands of the city lord of Longyang City. He can crush the Qian family at any time. In order for the Qian family to produce a mystic immortal, any danger is worth taking. Moreover, the Qian family will not be fooled. Although I agree to let him enter and exit the library freely, he cannot take out the immortal technique and cannot leave Longyang City at will. In addition, this person's combat power is indeed not to be underestimated. It is worth taking this risk." Qianlong had been speaking up for Yi Qinghan. After all, Yi Qinghan had attacked him in front of him. The power of that sword was more than terrifying. Even if he was at his peak strength, he could not block Yi Qinghan's sword. After Yi Qinghan left the hall, he did not consider their opinions and went straight to the Qian family's library. There were a total of 7 floors. The first 3 floors were for those below the immortal level. The 4th floor was for immortal spirit level immortal techniques, the 5th floor was for immortal earth level immortal techniques, and the 6th floor was for immortal heaven level immortal techniques. As for the top floor, there were only 2 immortal techniques of the mystic immortal level. After Yi Qinghan entered the library, he did not stop at the bottom 3 floors. Instead, he went straight to the 4th floor. He did not directly look at the immortal techniques or the various offensive divine abilities. Instead, he searched for some ancient books that recorded history. He wanted to find some experience about the soul body forming the golden body. There were many books in the library. If he wanted to find information here, it was not something that could be found overnight. Yi Qinghan took a deep breath. He definitely could not let the mystical bird and the little fox immortal out now. Once they were out, Qian Sihai and the rest would definitely guess his identity. Therefore, he could only rely on himself to find the information. Yi Qinghan flipped through the ancient books, forgetting about sleep and food. He could read 10 lines at a glance and finish a book in almost an incense stick's worth of time. His memory was freakish and he could remember everything he saw. He spent a day and a night reading. It was only when dawn broke that he finished all the books on the 4th floor. Although he was disappointed, he also saw a lot of the history of the Dragon Emperor Immortal Kingdom. He rubbed his eyes and his soul was tired. However, at this moment, the training ground was filled with young children. They were divided into 2 teams. The top was an immortal earth immortal, while the bottom was an 8 or 9-year-old child. The young men and women of the 2 teams were filled with fighting spirit and did not want to admit defeat. Qian Sihai, Qianlong and the rest were looking at the training ground with satisfaction. Only when the 2 teams fought could their fighting spirit be aroused and the Qian family could grow stronger. Lu Zhenlong had already arrived and started to drill his own team of young disciples. Only Yi Qinghan's team was still standing there, not knowing what to do. Qian Shuizhong was holding a large stack of information. It was a detailed description of the people in his team. He looked at the entrance of the training ground with anticipation. Yi Qinghan had not arrived yet and he could not help but feel anxious. The sun was high up in the sky and Yi Qinghan, dressed in green, slowly stepped into the training ground. He looked at his team of young disciples who did not know what to do and could not help but feel dissatisfied. The disciples of the proud sect would definitely not do this. They all had their own independent consciousness. When Yi Qinghan appeared in the training ground, Qian Shuizhong and the rest finally had a backbone. They stood up straight and waited excitedly. Tap, tap, tap. Yi Qinghan came to the east side of the training ground and reached out to take the list of information. He quickly summarized it and divided the more than 5,000 people into 5 large teams, 100 medium teams, and 500 small teams. Each small team had about 10 people. The ones with the lowest cultivation would be the small team, and the one with the higher cultivation would be the small team leader. They would go up in order, forming a large pyramid. Moreover, the leaders of each small team and medium team would be in charge of their subordinates. They would understand the strengths and weaknesses of their disciples and help them overcome their weaknesses. Every day, they would have to complete missions in small teams. If they could not complete the mission, they would be punished and the entire team would be punished. If they could not complete the mission on the second day, the mission would be doubled. If the medium team could not complete the mission, the entire medium team would be implicated. If they could not complete the mission in more than 5 days, not only would the mission be doubled, the entire large team would be implicated. Once such a training method was implemented, not only would it cultivate the leader's sense of honor and competitiveness, it would also cultivate the team's unity. The training method of the older generation of the crazy sect was individual training. However, the training method of the inner sect was the same. Therefore, the cohesiveness of the crazy sect was very terrifying. Their combat strength was also very exaggerated. There was almost no one left behind and their combat strength was very balanced. The 5 large team leaders were all at the beginner level of the immortal Earth Immortal. Yi Qinghan's team's combat strength was generally low. There was not even a mid-level Earth Immortal, let alone high-level Earth Immortals and Immortal Heaven Immortals. Shuizhong, you will be in charge of this team. If I am not around, I don't want to see a situation like today's. I hope that one day, you will be able to lead a group and not wait to be led by someone else. Yi Qinghan said in a deep voice. Yes. We will follow the instructor's instructions. The morale of the whole team suddenly rose. Although their movements were not in sync, their fighting spirit was there. Everything depended on training. Yi Qinghan nodded in satisfaction. He looked down at everyone and said, "Forget everything you have learned before. From today onwards, I will teach you a new set of training methods. I don't care if you are Earth Immortals or children. You will all follow my will." Everyone looked at Yi Qinghan expectantly. They wanted to see how Yi Qinghan would teach them. Yi Qinghan looked at everyone's expectant eyes and could not help but smile coldly. He said firmly, "Everyone, seal your strength and use your physical body to carry your weapons. Run until I am satisfied." That's it? Qian Shuizhong was stunned. He could not understand why Yi Qinghan wanted to waste time. "What I want is speed. Run 10,000 laps today. If anyone fails to meet the task, the whole team will be punished." Yi Qinghan released his aura and warned in a cold voice. The large team leader immediately sealed his strength and supervised his team members to seal their immortal force. Then, he took out his immortal weapon and rushed out. Lu Zhenlong, who was watching from afar, could not help but sneer. It would be strange if they could cultivate experts like this. Chapter 23:32. On the training field, Yi Qinghan's team had an easy time in the first few laps. However, after running 50 laps in such a large field, those little fellows began to fall behind. They were then whipped by Yi Qinghan's energy, forcing them to run forward. After 100 laps, most of them began to feel tired. Some of them began to slack off and used a bit of internal energy. However, even if they only used a bit, they were still discovered by Yi Qinghan. "Pa!" Yi Qinghan waved his hand and broke through space. He slapped them across the face, causing them to roll on the ground for more than 10 laps before they got up. "How far have you run? When you are fighting with your enemies and your energy is exhausted, your last chance of survival is to rely on your physical body to escape. You have to be fast and last a long time. If you can't even keep your life, how can you become an expert?" Yi Qinghan coldly reprimanded. Qian Shuizhong's breathing quickened. His physical body wasn't in good condition. After running for so long with his immortal spiritual energy suppressed, he was already dog-tired. However, after hearing Yi Qinghan's words, he realized that the physical body was actually very important. It wasn't what he thought. Hua hua hua! Yi Qinghan's words ignited everyone's fighting spirit. Even the little kids began to run with all their might. They were getting faster and faster. This was the time to test their willpower. 300 laps was equivalent to a few hundred li of running. After all, the training field was too big. Those little fellows whose cultivation hadn't reached the Sector Lord realm felt like their legs were filled with lead. They didn't even have the strength to lift their legs. However, Yi Qinghan followed them like a demon. He held a whip in his hand. Regardless of gender, age, or gender, he would hit anyone who fell behind. The field was filled with screams. Even Lu Zhenlong frowned. What kind of training was this? This was hellish training. This was just the beginning. When Yi Qinghan became serious, not many could withstand Yi Qinghan's training. 10,000 laps, Qian Shuezhong was almost desperate at this moment. Not to mention 1 day and 1 night, even 2 days and 2 nights might not be enough. After all, who could still run in the later stages? Yi Qinghan chased after them coldly. He did not give them a chance to rest. The leather whip pierced into their flesh and even into their souls. Of the 5,000 people, other than the ones at the front, half of the children at the back were beaten to tears. 500 laps, 600 laps. Qian Shuilong, Qian Lan, and the patriarch of the Qian clan, who were standing outside, couldn't bear it. After all, this kind of training method was too cruel. A distance of a few hundred kilometers wasn't too exaggerated, but if one didn't use the power of the immortal spirit and only relied on one's physical body, who could endure it? When they reached the 1,000th lap, Yi Qinghan asked all the children under the age of 18 to stay behind. Then he asked Qian Lan to prepare the herbs for refining the golden body and put them in a wooden bucket. He boiled them with hot water to stimulate all the medicinal properties. Release the power of the immortal spirit to protect your physical body. Enter the bathtub and use all your strength to refine your physical body. Without my orders, you are not allowed to come out, Yi Qinghan said expressionlessly. No one dared to go against Yi Qinghan's will. If they were even slightly slower, they would be whipped. Hundreds of children were all grabbed into the bathtub. Apart from their heads, even their necks were submerged in the medicinal water. The physical body is the carrier that carries the soul. If the physical body isn't strong, it's like a knife without a blade. It's a blunt knife that can't even cut firewood. How can you kill people? How can you protect yourself? How can you defend yourself? Yi Qinghan walked in front of the group of children and coldly reprimanded them. Remember this well. This is just the beginning. If you want to become strong, you have to train hard. If you can't endure this hardship, you can apply to leave the group. I won't force you, Yi Qinghan said in a deep voice. The group of children gritted their teeth and trembled all over. However, after the strength of the physical body dried up, the absorption of medicinal power was the fastest. Although they were in pain, they could clearly feel that their strength was increasing by several times. Everyone's faces were flushed red. They took the initiative to mobilize their immortal spirit to absorb the medicinal power and refine their physical bodies. They pushed out the impurities in their bodies and condensed them step by step. Their physical bodies were also strengthened little by little. This was an improvement that could be felt. It was different from an illusory realm. To be able to see improvement, the group of children was naturally excited. They even forgot about the whip marks on their bodies. What a ruthless training! Could it be that he was trained like this? Qian Lan said to herself hoarsely. Qian Sihai saw another kind of training method. He felt that Yi Qinghan might really have the chance to create some experts for the Qian family. However, Lu Zhenlong disdained this kind of training method. He felt that as long as the physical body was strong enough, it was fine. The real battle still relied on combat skills and secret immortal techniques. The physical body couldn't shatter the stars and split the sky and earth. Time passed. The screams in the square didn't dissipate. Instead, there were more and more because everyone was on the verge of collapse. After 1,500 laps, Yi Qinghan left behind another 2,000 young children with cultivation levels below the sage realm. There were more and more bathtubs, and more medicinal herbs were consumed. Although these medicinal herbs were very low grade, they still cost 30,000 to 50,000 celestial coins a day. It wasn't something an ordinary family could afford. I've had enough. How is this cultivation? I want to change teams. Some of the children who thought they were cultivation geniuses couldn't take it anymore. they stopped and roared. When one of them shouted, there would naturally be a second, a third, and even 100 others. Some of the half-baked people who didn't have strong willpower but had decent talent glared angrily at Yi Qinghan and expressed their dissatisfaction. There were about 300 of them. Yi Qinghan smiled and replied directly, "Change teams." "No problem. However, you will be eliminated." Then Yi Qinghan crossed off this group of people from the list and formed a new team. The remaining people were still running. When the sky turned dark, this group of youths had actually completed 5,000 laps. It was somewhat unexpected. However, another large group of youths chose to be eliminated. In just one day, nearly 1,200 people had been eliminated. To Yi Qinghan, he only wanted elites. Those who could see the end, even if there were 3 to 5 of them, would be considered successful. These people had limitless potential and limitless futures. The weakest could reach the Sky Immortal realm, and the strongest could reach the Mystic Immortal realm. Those youths who were eliminated also entered the bathtub. However, after entering the bathtub and absorbing the medicinal essence, they realized that their physical strength was rapidly increasing. They felt some regret, but on careful thought, they felt that no matter how strong their physical bodies became, they would not be able to create a new world and become Sky Immortals. Therefore, they happily gave up. In the square, Lu Zhenlong's team was already resting. However, Yi Qinghan's team still had more than 300 people running. Qian Xuezhong was among them. Yi Qinghan was already very satisfied, but he wanted to see what the limits of these 300 people were. Perhaps they could really complete 10,000 laps. Night fell and starlight scattered. Some people could not endure their willpower and began to fall behind. No matter how they were whipped, they could not continue running. Yi Qinghan knew that their willpower had been exhausted, so he sent them to new bathtubs. An hour later, there were less than 20 people left in the square. Qian Xuezhong was among them. Yi Qinghan was increasingly satisfied. Qian Xuezhong glanced at Yi Qinghan's face from the corner of his eye. When he saw that faint smile, he was immediately energized and increased his speed. Chapter 23:33. Out of more than 5,000 people, 1,200 people were eliminated in one day. Yi Qinghan was given the great title of Demon by the younger generation of the Qian clan. Regardless of gender, age, or gender, they all trembled when they saw Yi Qinghan. Everyone was whipped several times. Until the second half of the night, there were only 13 people who could still move in the square. They were basically walking now, not running. Qian Xuezhong, the 5 captains, and the 8 company captains were too tired to get up. They were directly thrown into the bathtub by Yi Qinghan. Yi Qinghan retreated outside the square. At this moment, Lu Zhenlong and Qian Shuilong had already left. Only Qian Sihai and Qian Lan were still watching from the outside. They wanted to see the results of the hellish training on the first day. Yi Qinghan looked at the two and said in a low voice, 5,000 people, I will eliminate until only 500 people are left in a month. I want elites, the survival of the fittest. Within a year, there will be at most 100 people left. Within 100 years, there will only be 10. However, I guarantee that the elites will all become immortal heaven immortals. However, I can't guarantee that there will be a mystic immortal realm expert. This? Qian Lan and Qian Sihai gasped. It was a little scary. There were more than 5,000 people, but there were only a few left. However, don't worry. The immortal heaven immortals who can last until the end are definitely invincible kings who can fight across realms. As long as you have a mystic immortal realm defensive armor and a mystic immortal realm weapon, it's not impossible to fight against a mystic immortal. Yi Qinghan threw out a temptation and said, it's fine as long as you have enough resources. If you don't, there's nothing I can do. Qian Sihai hoped that a true expert would appear in the Qian clan, an expert comparable to a mystic immortal realm expert. For such an expert to appear, he was willing to pay any amount of resources. Fellow Taoist Yi, don't worry. So long as you need it, feel free to tell me. As for the mysterious immortal grade soul defensive immortal artifact you want, I'll have to see the results 10 years from now. So long as you're able to defeat Brother Lu, I'll consider it. Qian Sihai tossed out a temptation as well, as he was afraid Yi Qinghan would give up halfway. Yi Qinghan nodded. He looked at the group of children who were still soaking in the bathtubs and said, "Sixth brother Qian, you don't have to prepare so many bathtubs tomorrow. Prepare about 3,500 of them. Put more medicinal herbs in each of the tubs and make sure they are of a higher grade. The prescription is still the same." Qianlan nodded excitedly. He understood the prescription and even discussed it with the alchemist. The prescription was definitely very good. It was the culmination of countless years of body tempering. It was priceless. In addition, prepare 15 more high-grade medicinal tubs for the people who persevere until the end. They are all promising talents. Yi Qinghan pointed at the 13 people who were still running. At this moment, they had already rushed close to 8,000 laps. Qian Xuezhong encountered several bottlenecks and almost couldn't hold on. However, Yi Qinghan forced him to break through the shackles. He suffered the most today, but he gritted his teeth and persevered. If he hadn't seen Yi Qinghan's strength, he might have even chosen to be eliminated. Until dawn, there were actually 10 people who had completed 10,000 laps. Although the remaining 3 didn't complete it, they were still crawling forward. Their willpower was definitely not bad. They were all senior captains and company captains. Naturally, they wanted to establish their might and let their team members see their strength. They wanted them to have the qualifications to become a company captain or even a senior captain. The 13 people were competing and competing. They hoped to successfully enter Yi Qinghan's eyes and become the person that Yi Qinghan appreciated. It had to be said that these 13 people weren't bad, especially in terms of wisdom and foresight. They believed in Yi Qinghan. They also believed that if they continued to cultivate like this, they would be like Yi Qinghan. Yi Qinghan didn't have a physical body, but his combat strength was already so exaggerated. If they had a physical body, they would definitely surpass him. Yi Qinghan's team of 4,000 people was still standing at the edge of the martial cultivation field. They watched the 13 people running and crawling on the ground. A portion of them were scared witless, but a portion of them actually regained their fighting spirit. They chose to rush onto the martial cultivation field and began to run wildly. Qianlan had prepared 13 high-grade medicinal tubs for these 13 people. In the end, the 3 of them managed to crawl to the finish line. It could be considered a very happy ending. However, Yi Qinghan did not smile at them. He didn't even acknowledge them. Tempering your body in the medicinal tub is only the beginning of Cui Lian's physical body. If you think that you're amazing after completing today's small task, I advise you to take the initiative and ask to be eliminated. Yi Qinghan poured a bucket of cold water on them. The 13 people who had persevered immediately felt their hearts sink. Seeing that the group of youths were in a bad mood, Yi Qinghan's attitude softened. They were children after all. A big stick and a piece of candy would have the best effect. Therefore, his voice softened and he said with a smile, "However, your performance today has indeed exceeded my expectations. I thought that the children of rich and powerful families were a bunch of mischievous people who couldn't be trained. You have made my eyes light up. My expectations of you might have been higher." Qian Xuezhong and the others immediately grinned. If Yi Qinghan had said this before, the effect would definitely not have been as good. Now that they had received his acknowledgement, they were especially happy and excited. Yi Qinghan looked at the tired faces of the group of youths. He looked up at the morning glow in the sky and roughly calculated the time. He said, "I'll give you 6 hours to go home, eat, and rest. Report back here after 6 hours. Those who are late will be punished with 3,000 laps." After saying this, Yi Qinghan directly left the training field and returned to the library, leaving behind a group of dumbfounded children. While on the spot, a little girl started crying. She said to the slightly older boy, "Big brother, let me be eliminated. My body hurts so much." Sob, sob, sob. When one person cried, it led to hundreds of people crying. Most of the underage children cried, but the older children knew how to comfort them. They hoped that their team would become stronger as a whole. At this time, the squad leaders and company leaders played a key role. They ran back and forth, constantly comforting these poor children like nannies. Qianlan and Qian Sihai looked at each other and smiled, then left. Not long after, the children went home. The company leaders and squad leaders held a new list of team members. They wanted to cry, but no tears came out. The group of company leaders said to the squad leaders, "Gather in 4 hours. Bring your team members to the training field. If anyone dares to fall behind, don't blame me for being rude." The squad leaders could only obey. One by one, they drooped their heads and left the training field. With this group of squad leaders and company leaders, it saved Yi Qinghan a lot of trouble. Yi Qinghan entered the library and continued to flip through ancient books. He was not interested in immortal techniques at all. Qian Sihai saw all of this. Qian Sihai looked at Yi Qinghan from the shadows. He was somewhat baffled. He felt that Yi Qinghan was a little crazy. He ran into the library and did not cultivate high-grade immortal techniques. Instead, he chose to read ancient books. Was this something a cultivator should do? Is he looking for some historical documents? Qian Sihai wondered to himself. However, he did not go forward to ask, in case Yi Qinghan became unhappy. 4 hours passed in the blink of an eye. There were only 400 captains left in Yi Qinghan's team. They went from house to house to look for their team members and forcefully pulled them out of bed. Some were unwilling to leave and were even dragged away. The Qian clan's tribe was bustling with noise and excitement. The adults could only laugh bitterly. "Eliminate me. I can't take it anymore." Wah! Cries and shouts resounded in every corner of the Qian family. It would have been better if the group did not rest. However, once they rested, their willpower collapsed. 4 hours had changed the fate of hundreds of people. Many people chose to be eliminated. However, they were still dragged to the training field. Even if they were eliminated, they had to wait for Yi Qinghan to arrive. 6 hours later, Yi Qinghan closed an ancient book and sighed. He expressed the helplessness and bitterness in his heart. Chapter 23:34. Inside the library, Yi Qinghan closed the ancient book helplessly. The Qian family's foundation was far inferior to the Eastern imperial families. The Qian family did not have any records of the Eastern imperial family's collection. Yi Qinghan turned around and went down the library. Qian Sihai was waiting outside the door. The two met at the door. Qian Sihai asked curiously, "Daoist Yi, I wonder what historical records are you searching for? Maybe this old man knows." Yi Qinghan looked at Qian Sihai. He knew that Qian Sihai was paying attention to him. Yi Qinghan did not hide anything and said indifferently, "Naturally, I'm looking for a way to reconstruct the golden body. I heard that there was a heaven immortal expert in history who almost succeeded in reconstructing the golden body. I wonder if Patriarch Qian knows about it?" Qian Sihai's foundation was limited. He knew nothing about these things. At this moment, he could only shake his head and smile bitterly. Yi Qinghan was not disappointed. After all, this kind of thing could only be found by chance. The two left the library side by side. It was almost noon. On the training field, Yi Qinghan's team had at least 800 people who chose to be eliminated. They stood to the side, waiting for Yi Qinghan's arrival. The others were beginning to temper their bodies under the leadership of the team leader. However, there was one person missing from the training field. It was Lu Zhenlong. Lu Zhenlong's team was led by Qian Shuilong. They were training vigorously. Yi Qinghan and Qian Sihai arrived at the training field. They saw that the two teams were training hard, cultivating secret techniques, and tempering their bodies. However, when they saw the 800 people standing to the side dispiritedly, their eyes were filled with disappointment. There's no need to nurture people who don't have willpower. With a wave of his hand, Yi Qinghan erased the name list of this group of people. In an instant, there were only 3,200 people left in his group. At this rate, it would take at most 10 days for all of them to be eliminated. Qian Sihai also agreed with Yi Qinghan. This group of people had been eliminated, so they did not have the right to enjoy any more resources. Yi Qinghan gathered his own team and arranged for them to fight against each other. The winning team would receive extra points and double the resources, while the losing team would be punished with 3,000 laps. However, if the person being chased could escape the pursuit of the opposing team, they would receive 3 times the resources. Many people did not understand Yi Qinghan's thoughts, but only Yi Qinghan himself knew that nothing was more important than his life. Being able to escape was also a form of combat strength. Fights between people of the same level, squads against squads, and squadrons against squadrons. These were all real battles, and there was even the possibility of death. No one dared to be careless. This kind of perverted cultivation method was more than just hell mode cultivation. Many people were afraid of it, but they had no other choice. Yi Qinghan stood in the distance and watched the fights between the squads. He was also very careful. He was only an instructor, so he did not want to kill children because of training. The training field was divided into different areas. In the early stages, everyone was fighting hard. Blood dyed the training field red, and screams were endless. Even Qian Sihai frowned. This kind of training method was too cruel. Yi Qinghan pointed at the group of children who were fighting hard and said indifferently, "The ultimate goal of all cultivation methods is to protect one's life in battle. Actual combat experience is the most important. Those who have been on the battlefield and those who have not are completely incomparable. Those who have not been on the battlefield, even if they have a higher realm, will only be slaughtered when faced with people who frequently kill. This is training assassins." Qian Sihai smiled bitterly. Yi Qinghan smiled and shook his head. "Training assassins is much crueler than this. The reason why your Qian clan has not produced an expert for so many years is not because they are not talented, nor is it because your immortal techniques are too weak. It is because the instructor is too gentle. All right, don't use people you don't trust. I believe in Taoist Yi," Qian Sihai said helplessly. The group of youths led by Qian Shuilong was dumbfounded. They did not expect Yi Qinghan to really let the Qian clan's disciples engage in a bloody battle. Moreover, people could die at any time. For the resources, each squad leader took the lead, and people fell one after another, losing their ability to fight. However, Yi Qinghan strictly forbade killing those who had lost their ability to fight. If they really reached a point where they could not resist, they would be forcibly taken away by Yi Qinghan and completely eliminated. They were looking for experience and opportunities in the battle. Everyone was full of fighting spirit and killing intent filled the air. Even Qian Shuilong, who was in the other squad, was frightened by the killing intent of this group of children. Some squads were completely annihilated, while some squads still had one or two survivors. They no longer fought hard, but waited for an opportunity to attack while escaping. There would always be dark horses that stood out. Yi Qinghan took note of all the little fellows that stood out and prepared to nurture them. Qian Sihai left, leaving only Yi Qinghan to train these little fellows in the martial cultivation field. The 5 squad leaders suppressed their cultivation levels and fought Qian Shuizhong at the immortal spirit immortal realm. Qian Shuizhong was almost killed several times. He was stabbed several times and bathed in a river of blood, but Yi Qinghan did not stop. "If you 5 squad leaders can't defeat him in 5 minutes, your entire squad will be implicated by you," Yi Qinghan said coldly. The 5 squad leaders attacked mercilessly, forcing Qian Shuizhong to flee frantically in the martial cultivation field. The scene was shocking, and Qian Shuizhong did not doubt that these 5 people could really kill him. Under the threat of death, Qian Shuizhong's speed reached the limit, but his physical strength could not keep up. Only then did he realize the importance of his physical body. Swoosh swoosh. Boom. Qian Shuizhong twisted and turned in the obstacles and climbed up. His legs were almost broken by the long rod, and his soul was struck several times. He was almost killed. Yi Qinghan stared coldly at the battlefield. He controlled the entire martial cultivation field, and every battle was under his watch. In less than 5 minutes, Qian Shuizhong was defeated. He was beaten the most miserably, and his flesh was badly mangled. The 5 squad leaders looked apologetic. Yi Qinghan sneered and said, "There's no need to apologize, because everyone will take turns fighting. Tomorrow, one of you will be selected and killed by the other 5. The time limit will still be 5 minutes." The 5 squad leaders took a deep breath, and there was fear in their eyes. Today's training will end here. Think about what you have learned from today's battle and where your weaknesses are. 5 against 1, Do you still need that much time? Your weaknesses are too obvious. Find them and change them. Yi Qinghan said calmly. Another 500 out of 3,200 people were eliminated, leaving only 2,700 people. After 2 days and 1 night, more than half of them were eliminated. But at this time, Yi Qinghan's team felt that they had improved. Under the threat of death, they could always discover their potential and find their own weaknesses. Gather! Qian Shuizhong was covered in blood, but he was not afraid. He was even a little excited and reached out to gather the team. Bush. The 2,700 people quickly gathered and looked at Yi Qinghan expectantly, waiting for his reprimand. However, Yi Qinghan did not lecture them. He just said lightly, "The resources have been sent to your homes. This time, go back and refine your bodies. Then, think about today's battle. If you were to fight again, would you be able to do better? Would you be able to turn defeat into victory?" Instructor. Everyone bowed and said, after the baptism of blood, this group of children seemed to have grown a lot. Yi Qinghan turned around and was about to leave. Suddenly, he saw Qian Sihai rushing to the martial cultivation field in a panic with a look of horror and fear. He knew something was wrong and quickly went up to him and asked, "Why is the former patriarch so flustered?" "Instructor Liu is dead. He died miserably," Qian Sihai said in a trembling voice. Yi Qinghan frowned. How could an advanced immortal heaven immortal die so easily? If he really died miserably, it must have been a hard battle. How could he not feel it? Chapter 23:35. Qian Sihai's voice was very low. He did not inform Qian Shuilong nor the younger generation of the Qian family for fear of causing panic. Yi Qinghan looked at Qian Sihai's expression and knew that this matter was very serious. He quickly said, "Take me to have a look." Hua! Wush. Qian family's West Court was Lu Zhenlong's training ground. Under normal circumstances, no one would disturb him. If Qian Sihai did not want to discuss something with him today, no one would have found out that he was dead. There was a faint demonic aura in the West Court. It was the aura of a non-human expert. Yi Qinghan felt it as soon as he entered the West Court. His fingertips trembled slightly and he went straight to the quiet courtyard of the West Court. The courtyard was very clean and did not look like there was a fight at all. Creak! Qian Sihai opened the door. A corpse was lying on the ground. Its clothes were ragged and there were a few shocking bloodstains on its neck. There was also a hole. This should be the fatal wound. Yi Qinghan followed Qian Sihai into the hall. He reached out and touched the bloodstains. They should be the scratches of a fierce beast. It was a bit like the scratches of a fox immortal. The bloody hole extended all the way to the brain. Dong dong dong. Yi Qinghan gently touched Lu Zhenlong's head and found that it was empty. Lu Zhenlong's brain was gone. Lu Zhenlong's expression was very strange. It was a little excited and a little panicked. There was also despair in his eyes. These three expressions should not appear on a dead person's face. What killed him? Qian Sihai asked in a trembling voice. Yi Qinghan shook his head. He could not be sure for the time being. However, he was sure that the other party was not human. It was a humanoid monster. After a while, 7 mid-stage sky immortal experts came. Qianlan also came. They surrounded Lu Zhenlong's body and looked for a long time but did not find anything. Yi Qinghan looked in the room for a long time. Every corner was searched but there was no clue. Qianlan and others were also discussing. The final conclusion was that it was the Fox Immortal who killed him. Yi Qinghan frowned. He had seen Fox Immortal injuring people. Although it was very similar to this, he was sure that it was not. Especially after talking with Little Fox Immortal, he was even more sure. This wound is not caused by us Fox Immortals, and we don't eat human brains. It's so disgusting. Little Fox Immortal said affirmatively. Yi Qinghan nodded silently. He squatted beside Lu Zhenlong's body and slowly unbuttoned his clothes. He discovered that there were a few strands of soft and smooth snow-white hair. Qianlan and company were even more convinced that Immortal Fox was the culprit. However, Yi Qinghan stood up and said, "This is not Little Immortal Fox's fur, but Cat Demon's fur. Furthermore, Immortal fox does not eat human brains and souls. How do you know? Qian Sihai asked in surprise. How could Yi Qinghan tell him that there was a fox immortal spirit pet in his soul? However, he had evidence to prove it. He then said, I once raised a cat demon as a spirit pet. It is quite sensitive to cat demon aura. These strands of fur have the aura of a cat demon. Most importantly, when I was reading ancient books in your Qian family's library, I saw that cat demons like to eat human souls and brains. Qian Sihai's pupils shrank. He thought carefully for a long time. There was no such powerful cat demon in the vicinity. Powerful cat demons are the natural enemies of soul bodies like me. They are the best at dealing with soul bodies. Yi Qinghan squinted at Lu Zhenlong's body. He felt a chill all over his body. He could even feel danger. Yi Qinghan was naturally very cautious about something that could threaten his life. Therefore, he cared more about it than the Qian family. He stared at Qian Sihai and asked in a deep voice, Did your Qian family offend someone? Qian Sihai shook his head suddenly and said quickly, Our Qian family is a businessman. We never offend anyone, let alone a Qian immortal. Since this cat demon could kill Coach Lu silently, it must be very powerful. The master behind it must be a Qian immortal at least. Yi Qinghan pondered for a moment and said in a serious voice, Then it must be because of your Qian family's wealth. Patriarch Qian, think about it again. Did someone hint at you recently? Did they remind you by killing you? The consecrators of the Qian clan all trembled. Previously, the Qian clan's salary was very easy to obtain, and they were naturally happy to do so. However, now that an expert like Lu Zhenlong had died, they were naturally in even more danger. Yi Qinghan was not thinking about leaving the Qian family. Instead, he wanted to find out who the murderer was. There was someone in Sun Dragon City who had the motive and the ability to do so. That person was none other than the mayor of Sun Dragon City. However, Yi Qinghan did not say it clearly. This matter involved a Qian immortal, so it was not easy to deal with. If it is the city lord of Longyang City, I think it is very possible. He wants the Qian family to feel danger. It is not impossible for him to ask for protection fees. Yi Qinghan secretly said to himself. Then he signaled Qian Sihai to dismiss the consecrators. However, as soon as the consecrators left, Qian Shuilong rushed over and drew his sword to kill Yi Qinghan. You thief! You killed my master as soon as you arrived. I will kill you! Ding! Whoosh! The sword aura was sharp and murderous. The sword beam enveloped Yi Qinghan, leaving him no way out. Yi Qinghan frowned and grabbed the immortal sword. He actually used his soul to form a physical body to pinch the back of the immortal sword. No matter how hard Qian Shuilong tried, he could not pull the immortal sword out or stab it in. Young man, don't be so impulsive. If I wanted to harm your Qian family, I would not have to be so sneaky. Yi Qinghan said coldly. Hiss! At this moment, Qian Sihai, Qian Lan, and the rest realized that they had underestimated Yi Qinghan's strength. Although Yi Qinghan was a spiritual body, it was not much different from having a physical body. Qian Shuilong's pupils constricted. He let go of the immortal sword and retreated dozens of steps. Yi Qinghan threw the sword back to Qian Shuilong and said indifferently, You guys can leave first. I have something to say to family head Qian. Qian Lan and Qian Shuilong were somewhat vigilant. Yi Qinghan was too strong. If he wanted to harm the family head, he could do it with a wave of his hand. Don't worry. I have been paying attention to Taoist Yi since last night. Brother Lu's death is definitely not because of him. The murderer is someone else. Maybe Taoist Yi already has an answer. Qian Sihai said in a dignified manner. Yi Qinghan was expressionless and did not nod in agreement. After all, he did not like to casually trust someone. However, Qian Sihai was different. He was the family head. There was no need for him to kill his most capable assistant. After Qian Lan and Qian Shuilong left, only the two of them and a corpse were left in the West Court. Yi Qinghan came to the courtyard and said indifferently, Family head Qian, I suspect that it was done by Longyang City's city lord. Even if it wasn't him, it must be done by another profound immortal expert. They killed him directly. They must be here for your money. You must be prepared. Chapter 23:36. Longyang City's Zhu Sihai seemed to be Qian Sihai's demon. When he heard Yi Qinghan's speculation, his eyes almost popped out. 8 million celestial coins a year is not enough. Does he want to eat the bones of the Qian family? Qian Sihai's voice was a little hoarse, and his anger was self-evident. When Yi Qinghan heard Qian Sihai's anger, he couldn't help but laugh. People's hearts are never satisfied. If you can afford 8 million, he wants 80 million. He even wants to skin you and eat your flesh. Family head Qian is a businessman. Don't you understand this? Qian Sihai was a little dispirited. If a mystic immortal wanted to eat the Qian family had no chance to resist. With Brother Lu's death, my Qian family doesn't even have a representative. How can we compete with Longyang City? Qian Sihai sat on a chair in the courtyard and said dispiritedly. Yi Qinghan thought for a moment and said tactfully, we can't be sure if it's Longyang City's lord. Let's wait and see. But if you want to protect yourself, it's best to prepare a Mystic Immortal Grade armor and a Mystic Immortal Grade Soul Protection Immortal artifact for me. Otherwise, I really can't help you. With the strength of that cat demon, I definitely can't beat it in my soul form. 2 Mystic Immortal Grade treasures, worth tens of millions. Qian Sihai was really afraid that Yi Qinghan would take the treasures and run away. Yi Qinghan looked at Qian Sihai's troubled expression and didn't force him. Since he came to the Qian family to be an instructor and became a consecrator, he should work for the person who gave him money and resources. If the other party didn't give him a defensive immortal artifact and armor, he could at most fight against a high-level sky immortal. That cat demon and a mystic immortal expert were definitely not within his range. But just as Qian Sihai was hesitating, Qian Lan rushed in. Family head, it's not good. Those consecrators all ran away. Even the Earth Immortal didn't want to stay. Qian Lan shouted in fear. Qian Sihai was instantly furious. As the saying goes, soldiers trained for 1,000 days to use in a single moment. The Qian family had spent so much money to raise consecrators, but when they heard that a mystic immortal attacked their family, they actually ran away without a fight. Qian Sihai roared angrily, and in an instant he aged countless years. His wrinkled face was almost pressed together, and the aura of despair enveloped his whole body. Yi Qinghan didn't think that these consecrators would do such a thing. In his heart, he despised these shameless consecrators. After all these years, they had taken at least a few million from the Qian clan. Yet they actually ran away at this time. This old man treated you well, so why are you doing this to this old man? Qian Sihai covered his face and cried bitterly. He was as sad as a 3-year-old child. Yi Qinghan could feel his despair. Yi Qinghan patted Qian Sihai's back and whispered, Patriarch Qian, let's prepare for war. This is not the time to be pessimistic, unless you are willing to give up the Qian family's foundation and flee with the Qian family. Qian Sihai looked at Yi Qinghan in despair. There were still tears in his turbid eyes as he whispered, I didn't think that Taoist Yi would still not leave at this time. This old man is relieved. However, there is no need to prepare for war. If a mystic immortal attacked my family, we wouldn't be able to resist. Here is 1 million immortal coins. Take it and leave. Yi Qinghan took the immortal ring and said indifferently, Since I am paid, I will do my job as a consecrate. Even if I can't live and die with the Qian family, I will still stand on the same line as the Qian family. Patriarch Qian, please get up. I will discuss countermeasures with you. Qian Sihai and Qian Lan were a little surprised. They didn't expect that the last consecrator would face the danger with the Qian family. Although Yi Qinghan wasn't a good person, he definitely had a bottom line. Whoosh! Yi Qinghan helped Qian Sihai up and placed the map on the stone table in the courtyard. He pointed at Sundragon City and said, This Sundragon City isn't far from the Celestial Nation's capital. Your Qian family can't be considered a grand family. There are no mystic immortals or golden immortals. If you want to become a true grand family and not let mystic immortals touch you, there is only one way, and that is to build momentum. Build the Qian family's reputation to the peak and make the heroes of the world like you and acknowledge you. How do we build momentum? Qianlong came over and asked in a deep voice. Yi Qinghan looked at the two of them and replied indifferently, "You have to do as much as you can. I don't know the Qian family's foundation, so I can't give you a specific plan." Qianlong looked at Qian Sihai. He also didn't know how much property the Qian family had. Only Qian Sihai knew this. The corner of Qian Sihai's mouth twitched, and his wise eyes stared at Yi Qinghan. After a long time, he said in a deep voice, "This old man thinks that I've been smart all my life, but I've been wrong all my life. However, I believe that I'm not wrong this time. I believe that fellow Taoist Yi is doing this for the good of the Qian family, so I'll tell you the truth. Over the years, the Qian family has earned a lot of money. Including the liquid funds, real estate, and immovable resources, we have about 7 to 800 million celestial coins." 7 to 800 million celestial coins was indeed a lot. However, to a true grand family, this amount of money was nothing. Even if the Qian family had a lot of property, they could only be considered an ordinary wealthy merchant if it was divided evenly. Yi Qinghan took a deep breath. It would be a pity to give up 7 to 800 million celestial coins just like that. He sat opposite Qian Sihai and kept tapping the table with his fingertips, thinking about his next step. However, less than an hour later, Qian Shuilong came over with a few elders of the Qian family. They handed over a letter and respectfully handed it to Qian Sihai. When Qian Sihai opened the letter, his hands couldn't help but tremble. "This is too much. This is too much." Qian Sihai couldn't wait to tear the letter, but he still endured it. Yi Qinghan reached out and took the letter. When he saw the few lines on it, his eyes widened. What a big taste. 500 million celestial coins each time. You have 3 months to gather it. Kakaka. Yi Qinghan clenched his iron fist. When he saw the last line, the corner of his mouth raised into a sneer. The last line was a typical threat. If you don't hand over 500 million in 3 months, the Qian family will be wiped out. How arrogant. It seems like he's determined to eat your Qian family. Yi Qinghan said seriously. At this moment, Qianlong whispered, "Recently, the Longyang city lord has been in need of money. Last month, he came to me and asked for some money. I heard that he was opening up a mystic immortal grade mineral vein. However, he needs a large amount of manpower and resources. Could it really be him?" Qian Sihai took a deep breath and clenched his old fist. He said with a hoarse voice, "It must be him. Otherwise, who else would dare to bully my Qian family? All these years, other than the offerings that should be given, he would use all sorts of excuses to ask for money from me. It would range from a few million celestial coins to a few 100,000 celestial coins. This time, he has such a huge shortage of money. If he doesn't look for a fat sheep like the Qian family, who else can he ask for money?" After confirming the identity of the person threatening the Qian family, Yi Qinghan asked, "Can you give me a copy of the detailed information on the Longyang city lord?" How could Qian Sihai not investigate the Longyang city lord all these years? He had already sorted out the information and handed it over to Yi Qinghan. Yi Qinghan skimmed through it and heaved a sigh of relief. Longyang's cultivation was only at the initial stage of the mystic immortal stage. He also had a half-step mystic immortal and hundreds of heavenly immortal stage subordinates. The Longyang city's territory was too big. It covered a few mountain ranges and had many mineral veins. All these years, they had been constantly collecting resources, recruiting experts, and opening up some unmined mountain ranges. The territory had more than doubled. If you want to protect the Qian family's property, then prepare a mystic immortal battle armor, a mystic immortal grade immortal weapon, and a dragon scale soul guard bell for me. If you don't have it, a soul defense immortal artifact that is similar to the dragon scale soul guard bell is also fine. If you want to give it up, I will naturally save myself the trouble." Yi Qinghan went straight to the point. He didn't want to be polite with Qian Sihai anymore. Without these 3 immortal artifacts, he wouldn't be able to go against a mystic immortal grade expert. Chapter 2337. Out of the 3 mystic grade immortal treasures, just the mid-tier dragon scale soul protector bell was worth 50 million celestial coins, the mid-tier mystic grade battle armor was worth 20 million celestial coins, and the mid-tier mystic-grade battle weapon was worth 20 million celestial coins. In total, it was 90 million celestial coins, which was equivalent to 10% of the Qian clan's total assets. Qian Sihai and Qian Lan both felt that Yi Qinghan was asking for too much. Moreover, even if Yi Qinghan had these things, would he be able to go against Long Yang? Yi Qinghan also knew what the Qian clan was worried about, so he asked Qian Sihai to dismiss everyone. Only Qian Lan, Yi Qinghan, and Qian Sihai were left in the courtyard. Yi Qinghan let out a breath of turbid air, adjusted his attitude, and said directly, "You want to protect your clan's assets, and I want the immortal treasures. Therefore, we both take what we need, and you won't lose out. Moreover, as long as you provide me with what I want, not only will I help you protect your clan's assets, I will also help you cultivate a mystic immortal expert." Qian Sihai stared at Yi Qinghan and asked with a hoarse voice, "How can I believe you? These 3 immortal treasures are worth at least 90 million celestial coins, which is 1/10 of the Qian family's property. Compared to the 500 million celestial coins that Long Yang asked for, these nearly 100 million celestial coins are indeed very little. However, my fellow Taoist, do you think you can defeat Long Yang with these 3 immortal treasures? How do I know that you won't take the immortal treasures and leave?" Yi Qinghan smiled faintly and said confidently, "If I really want to take the 3 immortal treasures and leave, I don't even need to discuss with you. I can kill the 2 of you with a wave of my hand. I can take as much of the Qian clan's wealth as I want, but a gentleman should have a proper way of obtaining wealth. I won't do such a thing. You can believe me or not, the decision is in your hands. If you have these 3 items, how are you going to deal with Long Yang City Lord?" Qian Sihai asked. Yi Qinghan's murderous aura flashed and disappeared as he replied in a low voice, "Kill Long Yang's half-step mystic immortal first, then his immortal pet cat demon. The rest will be easy. I have 3 immortal treasures. Long Yang won't be able to do anything to me in a short period of time. If he doesn't want to lose his reputation, I can definitely fulfill his wish." At this moment, Qian Sihai was a little shaken. He looked at Qian Lan, hoping that he could make a decision. Qian Sihai was old and did not dare to fight. If he was young, he would have immediately agreed to Yi Qinghan's request. Qian Lan exhaled a mouthful of turbid air. She did not dare to make up her mind immediately. After all, it involved assets of nearly 100 million yuan. Even a rich and powerful family would have to consider it for a long time. 3 months will pass very quickly. You don't have much time to think about it. After all, it takes time to buy such an immortal treasure. Yi Qinghan calmly reminded them. Qian Lan's hands were trembling. After a long time, she looked at Qian Sihai expectantly and said, "Family head, let's make a bet. If we win, our Qian family can become stronger. If we lose, it's no different from not making a bet. If we take out 500 million yuan at once, our Qian family will be finished." Qian Sihai heard Qian Lan's words and knew that it was the truth. However, he did not immediately agree. Instead, he looked at Yi Qinghan and asked directly, "Fellow Taoist Yi, if we cooperate, I want to know your true identity." Yi Qinghan grinned and said quietly, "Family head Qian, it's better that you don't know. If you know, you'll definitely regret it. You just need to know that I won't lie to you. As for other things, the less you know, the better. I hope family head can understand what I mean." Qian Sihai, an old fox, seemed to have understood Yi Qinghan's identity. After all, there were many spiritual powerhouses at the celestial immortal realm. However, there were not many abnormal existences like Yi Qinghan. "Okay, I won't ask. Our Qian family has a low-grade mystic immortal realm battle armor. I'll take you to buy the Dragon Scale Soul Guard Bell and mystic immortal realm battle armor." Qian Sihai stood up and said firmly. Yi Qinghan smiled and bowed slightly with cupped fists. "The Qian family's profits will definitely be more than 100 million yuan. I'll let your Qian family gain a foothold in Dragon Sun City. Even Dragon Sun City won't dare to covet your wealth." Qian Sihai nodded and said to Qian Lan, "Seal the news to the outside world. The news of Lu Zhenlong's death is not allowed to be leaked to the outside world. Even the people in the family are not allowed to talk about it. In addition, arrange for Shuilong to take a group of direct descendants and leave Dragon Sun City. If the Qian family is destroyed, we must leave some bloodline for the Qian family. Qianlong bowed and retreated. Yi Qinghan changed into a black cloak. The material was special. From the outside, no one could tell that he was a spiritual body. Qian Sihai brought him to the biggest immortal treasure shop in Dragon Sun City. There were mystic immortal grade immortal treasures, elixirs, and everything else. The two of them went straight to the top floor. Because there were very few people who could afford mystic immortal grade immortal treasures, the mystic immortal grade immortal treasures were all on the top floor. There was basically no one on the top floor. They were all service staff, and they were all beauties from various races. When they saw Qian Sihai, their eyes lit up. Yo, Patriarch Qian, it's been a long time since you came to take care of my business. It's been hard on me these days. A few flirtatious women immediately surrounded Yi Qinghan. Their gazes lingered on Yi Qinghan, but Yi Qinghan's aura was too cold. They couldn't see through him, so they didn't dare to be impudent. Qian Sihai was quite a tycoon in Dragon Sun City. Naturally, he often went to such places. However, he wasn't in the mood to deal with these flirtatious women. Let your shop owner come and see me. Everyone else, leave the top floor. Qian Sihai said in a deep voice. He naturally couldn't let others know that he was buying mystic immortal grade immortal treasures. Otherwise, once Dragon Sun found out, would the Qian family have a good time? These flirtatious women relied on sales to make a living. Qian Sihai was a tycoon, so how could he miss this opportunity? Therefore, they all licked their faces and refused to leave. Yi Qinghan's cold eyes stared at these women through the cloak. Killing intent enveloped them, scaring them into retreating. After a while, a middle-aged man in embroidered clothes ran over. He looked at Qian Sihai in astonishment because Qian Sihai's expression was very bad. Patriarch Qian, what happened to you? Did my shop sell you some defective goods? The shop owner, Li Shirtsong, asked in confusion. Sigh. Qian Sihai laughed bitterly and shook his head. Of course not. This time, I have a favor to ask of little friend Li Shirtsong. I want to buy a few immortal treasures. I hope that little friend can take out some good stuff for the sake of my Qian family taking care of your shop. The Li family's immortal treasure shops were all over the immortal nation. They were a big family and were much more powerful than the Qian family. This Li Shirtsong's cultivation was already close to the mystic immortal grade. The key was his status. Even Dragon Sun didn't dare to offend Li Shirtsong, who was a half-step mystic immortal. Li Shirtsong was rather curious. The Qian family had taken care of his business in Dragon Sun City all these years. The Qian family basically bought all their pills from this immortal treasure shop. They never asked for any discounts for weapons, immortal clothes, etc. Therefore, Li Shirtsong was rather grateful to Qian Sihai. If it wasn't for Qian Sihai, his achievements in the Li family wouldn't be able to be ranked. Patriarch Qian, you're too polite. I know how much you've taken care of me all these years. If you have any requests, just tell me. I guarantee that the price will be discounted. Moreover, it will be the best among the same grade. Li Shirtsong said seriously. I want a Mystic Immortal Grade Mid-Grade Battle Armor and an Offensive Mystic Immortal Grade Mid-Grade Battle Weapon. If you have the Dragon Scale Soul Guard Bell, that would naturally be the best. Qian Sihai said in a deep voice. Li Shirtsong's pupils constricted. He said in confusion, Patriarch Qian, are you crazy? You and I have known each other for so many years. I naturally treat you as a friend and an elder. I won't harm you for benefits. These things add up to at least 100 million immortal coins. Basically, it will hurt your Qian family's foundation. They are useless to you. Why do you want to buy these things? Chapter 23:38. When Qian Sihai heard this, he was so touched that he almost cried. However, he still had to buy what he needed to buy. The Li family could not offend Long Yang for the Qian family. After all, Long Yang had a lot of resources and people behind him. Sigh, I was forced. If I don't buy these things, the Qian family will be finished. Qian Sihai sighed. After Li Shirtsong heard this, he stared at Yi Qinghan and said, "Fellow Taoist, the Qian family is my friend. I don't care who you are, I hope you will stop before you go too far." Yi Qinghan was not angry. Qian Sihai was not wronged to have such a friend. Qian Sihai quickly explained, "It's not him. He is the new instructor of my Qian family. He is very loyal to me. My danger comes from other forces, and the Li family can't afford to offend me. Little friend Li Shirtsong, you can do me a favor this time. As long as you sell me 3 good immortal treasures, I will be very grateful." Li Shirtsong stayed in Longyang City all year round, so he knew the reason. He frowned and asked, "Is it Longyang? He asked you how much you want. He asked you to spend so much money to buy 3 immortal treasures?" Perhaps Qian Sihai trusted Li Shirtsong a lot, so he said frankly, "He asked me for 500 million celestial coins. I have to gather it within 3 months. Within 3 months, even if I sell my family property, I can't gather 500 million celestial coins. Even if I gather enough, the Qian family will collapse. I was forced to do this. I will die anyway, so I might as well make a last-ditch struggle." Li Shirtsong was furious. He waved his hand and reprimanded, "This Longyang is really an ingrate. All these years, he has borrowed more than 10 million celestial coins from me. Last month, he took 5 million celestial coins from me and even threatened me. I didn't expect him to want to swallow the Qian family. Sigh, little friend Li Shirtsong, we have to lower our heads. Who asked us to make a living in Longyang City? You have the Li family behind you, so he won't dare to act recklessly. I was forced into a corner this time, so I can only fight back. However, I hope you can do me a favor. Don't tell anyone about my operation. I'm worried that someone will report it to Longyang." Qian Sihai sighed helplessly. Li Shirtsong nodded, then took out a list and placed it on the table. "Please have a seat. These are all the immortal treasures below the mystic immortal grade that are being sold in all the shops of my Li clan. There are detailed introductions for all of them. Please take a look." Yi Qinghan looked at the list of immortal treasures. Some of the immortal treasures were not even in Sun Dragon City. Most of them were in the capital. It would take a month to send them here from the capital, even if they used a teleportation array. This was because although Sun Dragon City was close to the capital, the territory of the capital was too big. Sun Dragon City also had a lot of territory, so it was very far away. Yi Qinghan carefully looked at the immortal treasures and understood their functions. Some of their functions were indeed powerful, but they were not compatible with the soul body. Instead, they could not unleash their full potential. There was a dragon scale soul protector bell, and it was a mid-grade one. However, there were very few of them, and they were only sold to acquaintances because dragon scales were not that easy to obtain. "Taoistly, can you get this dragon scale soul protector bell within a month?" Yi Qinghan asked. Li Shirtsong looked at Yi Qinghan, then looked at Qian Sihai's expectant eyes and old face. He could not bear to see the Qian clan being destroyed, so he nodded firmly and said, "Within a month, I will try my best to get it for you. I will get my son to deliver it personally. There will be no accidents." Yi Qinghan and Qian Sihai let out a sigh of relief at the same time. Yi Qinghan was even more excited. With this dragon scale soul protector bell, he would naturally be more confident in fighting against a mystic immortal. "I want a set of Snow Beauty armor." Yi Qinghan looked at the detailed description of the Snow Beauty armor. It was a battle armor made from the skin of a Snow Beauty that had transformed into a dragon. It could absorb 70% of the power of a peak attack from an early-stage mystic immortal expert. Moreover, it was soft and tough, and when worn, it was like a personal garment. It also had an advantage, which was that it could ignore both soul and physical attacks. With such a battle armor, if a mystic immortal wore it, he would be invincible in the same stage. It was also a mid-grade mystic immortal treasure, worth 23 million celestial coins. This time, Li Shirtsong did not immediately agree, but reminded, "Taoist, although I cannot see your exact strength, I am sure that your cultivation level is below the high stage. This Snow Beauty armor is made for people with dragon bloodline, and it cannot be completely refined unless one is a mystic immortal. Even if you wear it, you might not be able to block an attack from a mystic immortal expert. Yi Qinghan said confidently, I have dragon bloodline, and it is of a very high grade. That is why I want the Dragon Scale Soul Protector Bell. This Snow Beauty armor is very suitable for me, and I have the confidence to refine it. As long as it is delivered within a month, the remaining 2 months will be enough. Hiss. Li Shurtsong took in a deep breath of cold air, and did not reject any more. He nodded and said, no problem, I will use all my connections to get this Snow Beauty armor for you. Yi Qinghan continued to flip through the list. He just needed to choose an attack-type mystic immortal weapon. This time, he would equip his entire body. Although the Dragon Scale Soul Protector Bell and attack-type weapons were far inferior to the Golden Bone and the Dragon Scale Soul Protector Bell of the East Clan, Long Yang's strength might not be comparable to that Mystic Immortal number 10. Immortal Slaying Sword, God Vanquishing Slaying Saber. Yi Qinghan looked through the list one by one, and recorded down all the backup choices. However, he was still flipping through the list, hoping to buy the best treasure. The mid-grade and low-grade Mystic Immortal treasures were already so expensive, and the high-grade Mystic Immortal treasures were probably even more expensive. Halberd, Heaven-Splitting Axe. Yi Qinghan kept flipping through the list of immortal treasures, and his heart grew heavier and heavier. The stronger these immortal treasures were, the harder it would be for him to fight against a mystic immortal if they were controlled by someone in the future. As long as it is a mystic immortal, it cannot be underestimated. Many mystic immortals can afford an attack-type immortal treasure that is worth tens of millions of celestial coins. If Long Yang also has a high-grade attack-type immortal treasure, I might not be able to stop him. Yi Qinghan became serious. He stared at the list, and his iron fists were clenched tightly. Just as he was flipping through the list, a name attracted Yi Qinghan's attention. Sky-Devouring Cauldron, mid-grade mystic immortal weapon, a weapon that combines both attack and defense. As long as one's strength is sufficient, it can devour anything in the world, and can even refine mystic immortals. Sky-Devouring Cauldron's materials, Heaven-Earth Mystic Mother Metal, Primal Chaos Origin Energy, etc. It is worth 30 million celestial coins. Weakness. It can damage the enemy by 1,000, but it can also damage the user by 800. The Sky-Devouring Cauldron will consume the user's life force and devour the user's origin. Dong dong dong, Yi Qinghan was tempted. This item was indeed heaven-defying. If it wasn't for this flaw, not to mention 30 million celestial coins, even if it was doubled, there would be people fighting to buy it. If I can improve this heaven-devouring cauldron, and reduce this flaw infinitely, or even block this flaw, wouldn't it be heaven-defying? Yi Qinghan clenched his iron fists, looked up at Li Shurtsong and said softly, I want this heaven-devouring cauldron. Li Shurtsong rolled his eyes, and felt that Yi Qinghan was also crazy. This heaven-devouring cauldron was indeed rare, and there were only 10 of them produced. However, only 3 of them were sold, and the rest were all piled up in the warehouse. Let me remind you, the 3 mystic immortals who used the heaven-devouring cauldron are all dead now. Of course, the heaven-devouring cauldron isn't that scary. These 3 mystic immortals died because they used the heaven-devouring cauldron for a long time, and their life source was exhausted. Therefore, no one bought this thing. Li Shurtsong said lightly. Yi Qinghan shook his head and said firmly, I want it, and I don't want to use it too often. As long as I can block Long Yang for a while, it will be enough. I think Long Yang won't make a big deal out of this. Otherwise, who would dare to do business in Dragon Sun City? Chapter 2339. Yi Qinghan's attitude was firm. He only wanted these 3 treasures. The heaven-devouring cauldron's price wasn't too high because it had been stored in the warehouse for too long. Even Xian immortals knew the weakness of the heaven-devouring cauldron, so no one was willing to buy it. The heaven-devouring cauldron cost more than 30 million, so it was basically a loss to sell it for 30 million. Li Shurtsong let out a breath of turbid air, thought for a moment, and said seriously, the commission for selling a heaven-devouring cauldron is about 5 million immortal coins. After all, no one wants to buy it, so if we sell it at a loss, the commission will be higher. I will return the 5 million to you, which means you only need to pay 88 million immortal coins. This time, I will help family head Qian. If you pay 85 million immortal coins, I will personally deliver the 3 treasures to your residence within a month. 85 million immortal coins was a drop in the ocean compared to 500 million immortal coins. It was within the range that Qian Sihai could afford. He couldn't help but let out a sigh of relief. Many thanks, little friend Li Shirtsong. If Qian family can escape this calamity, I will definitely repay this great favor. Qian Sihai said in a deep voice. Li Shirtsong nodded. After so many years, he had received many favors from Qian Sihai. Otherwise, he wouldn't have been able to establish himself in Dragon Sun City and become the most profitable existence in Li family stores. He was also a person who knew how to repay kindness, so he only smiled in return. Family head Qian, you don't have to be so polite. I will try my best to help you this time. This time, I will let my son come. I hope he can help you secretly and take back what Dragon Sun owes me. Li Shirtsong snorted and said. Li Shirtsong's son was very famous in the Center God province. His name was Li Peiza, and his family was extremely wealthy. He was ranked in the top 10 of the Center God province's younger generation. He was known as one of the 8 outstanding youths of the Center God province. If this name was tainted by the Li family's glory, then his battle strength in the heaven ranking of the Center God province's younger generation would have to rely on himself. The Center God province had a heaven ranking of the younger generation. It only recorded 50 people. In the vast Center God province, there were billions of living beings and countless experts of the younger generation. Those who could enter the heaven ranking definitely had terrifying battle strength. Moreover, the heaven ranking was personally determined by the Dragon Emperor Immortal Empire's prince. It wasn't something that could be bribed with money. The heaven roll was the most valuable. There was also the Earth Roll, which was ranked by the major forces of the Center God province. Although it was not as valuable as the Heaven Roll, it was not bad either. When Qian Sihai heard that Li Shirtsong had asked his son to come over and help, he was instantly overjoyed. Because Li Shirtsong had more than one son, but only Li Peiza could interfere in a battle at the mysterious immortal realm. Little friend Shirtsong, could it be that you want Frost Battle Monarch Li Peiza to come over? Qian Sihai asked excitedly. Li Shirtsong's face was solemn as he snorted. The Li family's money is not that easy to steal. Long Yang borrowed 20 million celestial coins from me. That's my income for several years. How can I not take it back? Pei Zhe came to ask for it a few times, but I didn't think it was necessary to offend Long Yang, so I didn't allow it. But this time I must get it back. Whoosh whoosh whoosh, Qian Sihai was excited. He felt that Long Yang's greedy plan might not win. Li Peiza, Frost Battle Monarch, ranked 26th on the Heaven Roll. He was at the high-level Undying Heaven Immortal Realm. He once fought with a low-level Mysterious Immortal Realm expert for an entire day and night. Although he lost miserably, that battle allowed him to be ranked 26th on the Heaven Roll. Yi Qinghan did not understand Li Peiza, nor did he know what kind of existence Li Peiza was. Since the Qian family gave him these 3 immortal treasures, he was going to take care of it with or without Li Peiza. Qian Sihai brought Yi Qinghan and quietly left the immortal treasure shop. They took advantage of the night to silently enter the Qian family. Qian Sihai was about to excitedly introduce Li Peiza to Yi Qinghan, but Yi Qinghan bluntly refused. Patriarch Qian, I don't care who Li Peiza is, and I don't want to care. This time, you gave me 3 immortal treasures in exchange for my help. I will take action with or without him. But at the very least, you have to hold on for 3 months, especially the first month. So, send someone to inform Long Yang. Tell him that the Qian family is gathering money. Ask him to calm down and stop attacking the Qian family. Then, do some superficial work to confuse him and buy me some time. Yi Qinghan said indifferently. Yes. I believe that Taoist Yi can help my Qian family tide over this crisis. Qian Sihai said with a smile. Yi Qinghan wanted to confuse Long Yang, but Long Yang also found out about Yi Qinghan. In the main hall of the Longyang Prefecture City, a bewitching woman emitted a faint demonic aura. Her clothes were very revealing, and she was bewitching to the bone. She knelt on one knee in the main hall and didn't dare to raise her head to look at the person sitting in the main hall. A middle-aged man sat in the main hall. His malicious eyes didn't look like a kind person. His cheekbones were very high and he was very thin. He was wearing a profound immortal battle armor. His aura was very cold, and even the dragon's aura couldn't hide his essence. He was Long Yang. He wasn't a human, but a ferocious creature in human form. Long Yang's true form was originally a snake, an extremely sinister snake. Through countless years of bitter cultivation, he had cultivated into a python. Then, after countless more years of cultivation, he had finally transformed into a dragon. After becoming the Dragon Queen, he was recognized by the Celestial Nation and was conferred the title of Lord of Long Yang. However, deep down he was a sinister snake. He was insatiably greedy and didn't know how to restrain himself. Master, another instructor came to the Qian clan. His surname is Yi, and I heard that his name is Yi Feng. He is also a spiritual body, and his combat strength is very exaggerated. He pierced through the stone tablet in the Qian clan's martial field with a sword. When he pulled out the immortal sword, the stone tablet actually shattered. The bewitching woman said respectfully. Long Yang looked down at the woman. Her plump and snow-white breasts could be clearly seen. What level is the stone tablet? Long Yang asked indifferently. Mid-level heaven immortal. The woman whispered. This time, Long Yang became serious. A spiritual body could pierce through 10 times the level of a heaven immortal with a sword. Such combat strength was definitely not weak, and it would affect his plan. Demon Cat, since you've killed Lu Zhenlong, I'll leave this Yi Feng to you. Once you're done tonight, I'll reward you well tomorrow. Long Yang's lips curled into a cold smile, and his voice penetrated into one's bones. Cat demon, this woman was a cat demon. She was the one who killed Lu Zhenlong silently, causing Lu Zhenlong to die in fear and excitement. Thank you, Master. This cat slave is willing to remove all obstacles for Master. The cat demon replied respectfully. Then go, I will wait for your good news. As long as I swallow the Qian clan, my Dragon Sun City's foundation will increase by 30%. With the Qian clan's wealth as support, I will have the ability to reach the mid-level or even the high-level Mystic Immortal. When the time comes, I will be summoned by the Dragon Emperor. Long Yang fantasized excitedly, and his eyes were filled with greed. The cat demon took advantage of the night to leave the Dragon Sun City. She shuttled through the streets and quickly approached the Qian clan in the east of the city. At this moment, Yi Qinghan had just entered a meditative state, and he had not sensed any danger. However, when the cat demon entered his courtyard, he suddenly opened his eyes, and his hand involuntarily grabbed the immortal sword hanging on the wall. Chapter 2340. Under the night sky, the Qian family was very peaceful. The consecrators had all fled, and only the Qian family's own people were patrolling. However, their cultivation was very low, so it was impossible for them to discover the existence of the cat demon. Although the cat demon was strong, Yi Qinghan's ability to sense danger was stronger. Therefore, the moment she entered the four-part architecture, Yi Qinghan grasped the immortal sword. Yi Qinghan slowly got up and leaned against the wall, staring at the door and window. He was a spiritual body, so he might not be afraid of mystic immortals. However, he was afraid of the cat demon because the cat demon loved to eat spiritual bodies and human brains. It was their natural enemy. The cat's speed was usually many times faster than a human's. As they cultivated and grew, the human speed was like slow motion in the cat demon's eyes. Even an existence like Yi Qinghan was very afraid of the cat demon. Whoosh! Yi Qinghan slowly pulled out the immortal sword and wrapped the blade with a black cloth. The sword light was restrained, so as not to disturb the cat demon outside. Phew! Although Yi Qinghan's breathing was steady, he was very nervous. His eyes narrowed into a line as he waited for the cat demon to appear. In the four-part architecture, the cat demon did not recklessly barge into the room because she also sensed danger. She carefully approached the window, and her bright eyes could even see through the window. She saw Yi Qinghan holding the immortal sword in the room. What a cautious person. He actually discovered me so quickly. The cat demon muttered to herself. She no longer hid her position and identity and directly pushed the door open. Her bright eyes stared at Yi Qinghan, who was leaning against the wall. She smiled and said, "Taoist Yi Qinghan, Xiaonu is here to visit under master's orders. Do you welcome me?" Yi Qinghan looked at the cat demon vigilantly and replied coldly, "Even if I don't welcome you, you're still here. Just tell me, what do you want from me?" Giggle. The cat demon smiled charmingly. Her seductive nature was enough to drive men crazy. Taoist Yi is considered a hero. Are you so afraid of me? I'm here to visit you personally. Why don't you invite me in? The cat demon mocked. Yi Qinghan sneered. What kind of storms had he not seen? What kind of woman had he not touched? How could a cat demon cause his will to crumble? Yi Qinghan took a small step back, keeping a certain distance from the vengeful cat demon. He said calmly, "Come in." The cat demon twisted her snake-like waist, bewitching everyone. She kept staring at Yi Qinghan with coquettish eyes, wishing she could stick to Yi Qinghan. Young master is truly a man of striking appearance. I've heard that young master pierced through a mid-level heavenly immortal realm stone tablet with a single sword strike. You're truly a man of both looks and talent. The demon cat's voice was like the sound of nature, soft and boneless. She kept getting closer to Yi Qinghan. Yi Qinghan pointed the sword at the cat demon's neck and said calmly, "If you come any closer, this sword will not recognize you." "Oh, I'm so scared." Young master is distinguished, elegant, and heroic. At any rate, you're a hero of a region. How could you be so violent to a weak woman? The cat demon took a small step back. She looked like she was scared, but in reality, she just wanted to maintain a safe attacking distance. Yi Qinghan's lips curled into a sneer. He did not withdraw the sword in his hand, but said coldly, "If you're a weak woman, then isn't Lu Zhenlong's death too unjust? Io, you've wronged me. I don't even have the strength to truss up a chicken. I don't even dare to step on an ant, let alone kill someone. Moreover, for an expert like Lu Zhenlong, other than a mystic immortal, who else could kill him?" The cat demon pretended to be calm as she quibbled. Yi Qinghan suddenly laughed and mocked. "An idiot will always be an idiot. Even if you transform into a human, you don't have the intelligence that a human should have. Lu Zhenlong's death, other than a few people from the Qian clan, only the murderer knows about it. No matter how you quibble, it's equivalent to admitting that Lu Zhenlong was killed by you." When the cat demon heard this, her face turned cold. "Since you know, then all the more I can't let you live." The cat demon's eyes flashed, and her fingernails turned into sharp blades that emitted a cold light. However, her attitude changed and she said seriously, "Since you're a talent, why don't you pledge your loyalty to my master? When my master becomes a golden immortal, you and I will be able to reach the sky in a single bound." Yi Qinghan naturally knew that the master behind her was Long Yang. However, he sneered and said, "Long Yang is only an early-stage mystic immortal. Even if he's at the peak of the early-stage mystic immortal, it'll take him a long time to break through to the mid-stage mystic immortal. Aren't you thinking too far ahead to become a golden immortal now? You mean to say that you want to go against my master?" The cat demon threatened in a cold voice. "You should know that my master is the strongest in Longyang City. A fine bird chooses a tree to nest in. Don't stand on the wrong side, or the price will be death." Yi Qinghan replied coldly, "I don't want to go against anyone. Moreover, the Qian clan has agreed to gather 500 million celestial coins and send it to the Longyang Manor. Why do you have to be so aggressive? If you continue to provoke me, you'll be going against me." "How arrogant! Going against you? Do you have the right to do so? My master thought highly of you and recruited you. Since you don't know what's good for you, I'll deal with you in 3 months. Whoosh. The cat demon quickly left the room and disappeared into the night in a flash. After chatting for a while, the cat demon returned to the Longyang Manor in less than 2 hours. In the Longyang Manor, in Long Yang's bedroom, the cat demon dodged everyone's divine sense and directly entered the room. "You finished the task so quickly?" It seems that the spiritual body isn't much. Long Yang looked down at the cat demon who was kneeling on the edge of the bed and said lightly, "Master, Xiaonu failed. That person is very strong. He noticed me as soon as I got close to the courtyard. I was afraid that I would anger Qian Sihai if I attacked forcefully, so I took the initiative to retreat." The cat demon knelt respectfully. Her body was trembling as if she was very afraid of Long Yang. Long Yang's eyes flashed. He grabbed the cat demon's neck and dragged her onto the bed. "My little cat has always been the most obedient. You have never failed a task assigned by your master. Today you have disappointed me." Dragon scales appeared on Long Yang's forehead, which meant that he was very angry at the moment. Even if he was expressionless, it made the cat demon even more terrified. The mountain peak trembled and was almost shaken out of her clothes. Her snow-white skin was visible at a glance. The cat demon in fear was even more unbearable. "Master, please give me another chance." The cat demon begged in fear. Long Yang's thick fingers slid across the cat demon's neck and slid down to her deep cleavage. His fingers were like sharp knives, directly cutting the cat demon's clothes and leaving a bloody mark on her chest. The cat demon was so scared that her face was pale. Her body trembled involuntarily as she welcomed Long Yang. "You fought for this opportunity. Stay tonight and serve me. As long as you satisfy me tonight, I will give you another chance tomorrow." Long Yang said calmly. He slowly leaned over to stabilize the bloody mark and bit the mountain peak that was difficult to control. "Thank you, Master, for not killing me." The cat demon twisted her body and let out a muffled groan that made people's bones go soft. Chapter 2341. The night passed very slowly. Yi Qinghan remained vigilant at all times, not daring to relax in the slightest. Finally, it was daytime, and Yi Qinghan quickly found Qian Sihai. Qian Sihai had the most comfortable night because Li Peiza and Li Shirtsong were going to intervene, so he did not have any burden. However, he was woken up at dawn, so he was very unhappy. However, when he saw Yi Qinghan, his face suddenly changed. "Taoist Yi, why are you looking for me so early?" Qian Sihai asked curiously. Yi Qinghan took a deep breath and said, "Yesterday, the cat demon came to find me, but I saw through her. However, from her tone, even if you pay 500 million, your Qian family will not be able to keep it." Qian Sihai's face changed again, but after thinking about it, he was not too angry. After all, he did not want to give his family to Long Yang. "How strong is the cat demon?" Qian Sihai asked. Yi Qinghan swallowed a mouthful of saliva and whispered, "Very strong. If she did not want to alarm you, she would have fought with me. I would not have been her opponent, but if I had the snow flood dragon armor and the dragon scale soul protecting bell, I would have killed her." The key was still the 3 immortal treasures. Yi Qinghan stared at Qian Sihai and reminded him in a deep voice, "If you want to protect the Qian family, then ask Li Shirtsong to send me the immortal treasures as soon as possible." Qian Sihai's forehead was covered in sweat. Time waited for no one. For the Qian family, he could only send a message to Li Shirtsong through his own channels. However, he soon received a reply. Even if the immortal treasures could be pushed forward, it would not be pushed back for long. Yi Qinghan stood at the door and waited. In the end, he received the result that the immortal treasures would be pushed back 3 days. 3 days was also time. Yi Qinghan once again felt the urgency of time. Qian Sihai finally felt uncomfortable. He could only start to gather money on the surface and even began to sell his family property. However, each property was 30% higher than its original value. Even if he could sell it, he would not lose money. It would be best if no one bought it. The Qian clan was in a hurry. Within a day, the results were seen and the Longyang manor was appeased. However, the cat demon had already made up her mind to kill Yi Qinghan. Longyang didn't say that he wouldn't kill Yi Qinghan after last night. Therefore, tonight, she took a shower and put on more revealing clothes before sneaking into the Qian residence. The Qian family's defense was like tofu dregs, completely useless against the cat demon. In the darkness of dawn, Yi Qinghan had been on high alert ever since the arrival of night, so he was very tired at the moment. Phew, Yi Qinghan held his sword and leaned against the headboard. His eyes were drooping and he did not realize that the cat demon had entered his yard. The cat demoness aura turned even calmer, as though a gentle breeze had brushed past. Her frail body leaned against the window, and through the paper window, she saw the exhausted Yi Qinghan lying on the bed. He was already drowsy. The cat demon's face revealed a seductive smile. Her footsteps were silent, and there wasn't even a trace of vibration. She slowly approached the door, and with her speed, Yi Qinghan wouldn't have a chance to resist once the door was opened. Just as the cat demon was about to use her strength to push the door open, she alarmed the 5 elements in the world. Yi Qinghan's 5 elements were in balance. Even the weakest 5 elements in the world would alarm him. The cat demon pushed the door open at the same time as Yi Qinghan unsheathed his sword. Yi Qinghan's actions were completely subconscious, and he didn't even wake up. The sword beam flashed and collided with the cat demon's cave. The immortal sword rested on Yi Qinghan's neck, but he didn't dare to move. This was because the cat demon's claws were already pressed against his neck. The cat demon's neck was torn open by the sword beam. A trace of blood appeared on her snow-white skin as blood seeped out. A drop of blood also seeped out from Yi Qinghan's neck. Their eyes met. Yi Qinghan stared at the cat demon, and the cat demon stared back at Yi Qinghan. Both of them were stunned by each other's speed. Cat demon, I didn't expect you to really come tonight. Yi Qinghan said in a serious tone. The cat demon gave a seductive smile that left one numb to the bone. Yi Qinghan didn't even dare to look her in the eyes. I didn't expect your combat strength to be so strong. Your subconscious actions were able to block my attack, forcing me to not dare to make any progress. If I hadn't stopped in time, I'm afraid your sword would have stabbed into my neck after my fingers had pierced your neck. The cat demon said seductively. Indeed, Yi Qinghan's sword tip was pressed against the cat demon's neck, and the cat demon's claws were also pressed against Yi Qinghan's neck. No matter who stabbed forward, both of them would be injured and perish together. Let's change positions. Otherwise, I can't guarantee that we will both perish together. Yi Qinghan stared at the cat demon and said, "He." The cat demon laughed and knelt beside Yi Qinghan. Her snow-white rabbit almost fell onto Yi Qinghan. She supported herself with one hand on the bed and the other on Yi Qinghan's neck. However, she took the initiative to retract her claws. Her life was now in the hands of Yi Qinghan. However, Yi Qinghan didn't dare to kill her. If he killed the cat demon today, he probably wouldn't live to see the sun tomorrow because Long Yang wouldn't let him off. Yi Qinghan didn't immediately put away his sword. Instead, he waved his hand and sealed the cat demon's immortal door, inner core, and immortal core. Then, he sheathed the immortal sword. The cat demon's expression changed slightly, but she didn't resist. Instead, she stretched out her hand and placed it on Yi Qinghan's body. She twisted her body and seduced him to the bone. Taoist Yifeng, I didn't expect a mere low-level immortal heaven immortal like you to have such strength. I really didn't expect this. The cat demon wasn't afraid that Yi Qinghan could see her body. Instead, she took the initiative to offer her body to him. Yi Qinghan wasn't a stud horse. He would fuck any female. His expression turned cold. He pushed her into the bed and waved his hand to close the door. Let's get straight to the point. What do you want? The Qian family has already agreed to your request. Why are you still being so aggressive? Yi Qinghan asked coldly. Kakik. The cat demon lay on the ground like a lamb waiting to be slaughtered. Any man would be subdued. However, she was disappointed. Yi Qinghan just looked at her coldly. There wasn't even a hint of desire in his eyes. Yi Qinghan was indeed not interested. He could have as many women as he wanted. Moreover, he didn't have any burdens. However, he wasn't interested in this demonic woman. My master said last night that the Qian family was hiding something. Why would the Qian family dare to do this? I know the Qian family's background better than anyone else. Qian Sihai wouldn't dare to do this. The reason why he dared to do so must be because of you. Am I right? The cat demon knelt on Yi Qinghan's bed. She looked down at him and bluntly said the truth behind the discussion between the Qian family and Yi Qinghan. Yi Qinghan's heart pounded. He looked into the cat demon's eyes. He noticed that her gaze was very strange. He said to himself, "Is this cat demon trying to trick me? Ha! Beautiful cat demon, you think too highly of me. How can I challenge the Dragon Sun City Lord? He is at the peak of the low-level Xian Immortal stage and is about to step into the mid-level Xian Immortal stage. He can crush me to death with just a stretch of his hand." Yi Qinghan said indifferently. Chapter 2342. In the courtyard, Yi Qinghan and the cat demon were less than a meter apart. Yi Qinghan was sitting on a chair beside the bed, while the cat demon was kneeling on the bed and scrupulously. Her body was leaning forward, and her body was in full view. The cat demon stared at Yi Qinghan. She realized that no matter how she tried to charm Yi Qinghan, she could not help but feel angry. The cat demon, who had never failed before, had failed twice in front of Yi Qinghan. Her dignity was being challenged. "Yi Feng? Why do I feel that this is not your real name?" The cat demon stared at Yi Qinghan and asked with a charming smile. Yi Qinghan snorted and replied indifferently, "If you want to know my background, I can tell you. Yi Feng is indeed not my real name, and I have no interest in going against the Dragon Sun Mansion. As long as you turn a blind eye and don't go against me, everyone will benefit. For me, the Dragon Sun Mansion is not scary. If I want to destroy the Dragon Sun Mansion, all I have to do is to open my mouth. Don't think that you are scary. You have never seen a scary person." Yi Qinghan's eyes shone with a cold light, filled with determination and confidence. Just this aura alone was enough to scare the cat demon. "Who exactly are you, sir? Why don't you tell me so that I can give an explanation when I go back? Just take it that you sympathize with me, okay? If I go back with my tail between my legs, Master will definitely not let me go." The cat demon looked pitiful as she moved off the bed and knelt at Yi Qinghan's feet. She had a pleading look on her face as her hands groped Yi Qinghan. It was as if she was sacrificing her body for a mission. Yi Qinghan reached out and pressed the cat demon down. He said indifferently, "Go and tell exalted immortal Longyang the words Ancient Emperor Academy. He is so smart, he will definitely understand." The cat demon's pupils shrank. She was shocked and muttered, "You are a student of the East Divine Region's Ancient Emperor Academy? Why are you in the Chen family?" Yi Qinghan stood up. With a wave of his hand, he removed the cat demon's immortal core and immortal door. He gestured with his hand and said, "I won't be sending you off. I don't wish to see you tomorrow night." The cat demon was confused, but the Ancient Emperor Academy was too famous. Who knew how many big shots were hidden there? Not only the Dragon Sun Mansion, but not many people in the undying immortal world would dare to offend the Ancient Emperor Academy, including the 5 high and mighty immortal emperors. The terrifying thing about the Ancient Emperor Academy was not that the deans of the various departments were big shots, but the ancient heavenly emperor himself. No one knew his background and no one knew how strong he was. They only knew that no one had a longer history than him. Even the legacies of the ancient factions were not as old as the ancient heavenly emperor. Any random student from the Ancient Emperor Academy could become a governor of a celestial kingdom. Although the Ancient Emperor Academy was located in the East God Province, the students it recruited came from all over the immortal world. Its reputation was like the sun in the sky, and everyone had to give it some face. Yi Qinghan looked down at the cat demon with an arrogant expression, not willing to reveal any more information. Such vague information was enough to make Long Yang hesitate. At the very least, he would not dare to act rashly before investigating Yi Qinghan's background. Within 2 months, Yi Qinghan was confident that Long Yang would not be able to find out anything about him. The cat demon respectfully retreated, not daring to provoke him anymore. If Yi Qinghan was really a student of the Ancient Emperor Academy, then he was definitely not to be trifled with. If he was angered, he could find a few of his fellow disciples to cripple the Dragon Sun Mansion. Even the Celestial Kingdom would not interfere. The cat demon once again appeared in Long Yang's bedroom in the Dragon Sun Mansion. "Has the mission been completed?" Long Yang calmly asked. The cat demon's body trembled. Thinking back to Long Yang's madness last night, she did not dare to answer directly. Instead, she respectfully said, Master, this Yi Feng's background is not ordinary. From what I heard, he is from the ancient Emperor Academy. This little slave does not dare to trouble you, so I came to ask for instructions. Ancient Emperor Academy? Long Yang was shocked and could not help but feel his hair stand on end. If the cat demon killed a student of the ancient Emperor Academy, the consequences would be terrifying. Master Thief, I failed twice. He might really be a student of the ancient Emperor Academy. Otherwise, why is he not on the Center God Province's heaven ranking? The cat demon respectfully explained. Long Yang pondered for a moment and did not dare to act recklessly again. You are responsible for investigating this Yi Feng's background. You can't take more than 2 months. Otherwise, when we collect the Qian family's assets later, if he interferes, we will be in a passive position. Long Yang said in a deep voice. Yi Qinghan's words made the Dragon Sun Mansion not dare to act recklessly, and they finally relaxed. On the surface, the Qian family was still selling their assets to raise money. As time passed, Yi Qinghan continued to train the young children of the Qian family as if nothing had happened. The intensity of the training increased bit by bit. Because of Lu Zhenlong's tragic death, his team had also become Yi Qinghan's training target. A large number of young disciples were eliminated. In a short 15 days, there were less than 2,000 people left who could withstand Yi Qinghan's hellish training. There were less than 2,000 people left in the two teams. It could be seen how perverted the training was. Qian Shuezhong was in charge of the 2,000 elites. Yi Qinghan picked another elite, the second heaven immortal expert of the Qian family, Qian Shuezun. He was in charge of the eliminated team. Yi Qinghan watched the training during the day and made them fight each other. He found each other's weaknesses and constantly improved them. Their cultivation realm did not change, but their combat power increased by several times. For a genius like Qian Shuezhong, because his physical body had caught up, both his combat power and defense had increased by more than 20 times. Qian Sihai also saw the results. He had even more expectations for Yi Qinghan. At night, Yi Qinghan began to comprehend the Qian family's immortal technique. He then imparted it to the Qian family's disciples. The Qian family's disciples did not even have time to rest. The 1,000 over elites endured for another 10 days. Even though their mental state was still able to resist, their willpower was already on the verge of collapse. There were only 2 days left before Li Shizong promised to deliver the immortal treasure. Yi Qinghan allowed Qian Shuezhong to lead the elite disciples to relax for a day. But he hid at the top of the library to comprehend the Qian family's mystic immortal technique. The sword immortal technique was a mystic immortal technique of a higher level. It was definitely much higher level than Sikong Tanlong's immortal technique. Yi Qinghan cultivated in the library for 2 days. He was completely engrossed in the sword immortal technique. He was completely unaware of the passage of time. The tiny person in his sea of consciousness was crazily comprehending the sword technique. He forcefully memorized the sword immortal technique. Dong dong dong. A series of hurried sounds came from outside the library's top door. It woke up Yi Qinghan, who was cultivating. Yi Qinghan frowned. He was slightly displeased. He directly pushed the door open and saw that the person who knocked on the door was Qian Sihai. Beside him was a young man who was very handsome. He was around 20 years old, but his realm was at the peak of the immortal heaven immortal realm. He stood as straight as a spear. His aura was restrained, but anyone with a discerning eye could tell that this person was hiding his strength. He was definitely a supreme king of the younger generation. Taoist Yi, let me introduce you. This is the Frost Battle Monarch, Li Peiza. He's ranked 26th on the heaven ranking. He's also one of the most outstanding youths in the Center God Province. Qian Sihai quickly extended his hand and introduced, Nephew, this is the Taoist Yi that I mentioned to you. Li Peiza stared at Yi Qinghan. He realized that he was actually a soul body, but his aura was more restrained. His ability to control the 5 elements seemed to be more precise than his own. He couldn't help but be surprised. He knew all the powerful existences in the Center God Province, but he really didn't know about Yi Qinghan. Yi Qinghan looked at Li Peiza. He was indeed qualified to be ranked on the heaven ranking. He bowed and said, "I've heard a lot about you. You really live up to your reputation." Chapter 23:43. Li Peiza was very cold. Facing Yi Qinghan, he didn't show any emotion and just asked indifferently, "Daoist Yi, you flatter me. With your cultivation, you probably have a chance to enter the top 10 of the heaven list if you have a physical body. Why haven't I heard of this Yi phone? I'm just a nobody, not worth mentioning. I come from a remote village, so it's normal that young Master Li hasn't heard of me." Yi Qinghan replied indifferently. Li Peiza stayed in the Central God Province all year round, so he was very well informed. He looked at Yi Qinghan for a long time and took out 3 immortal treasures: the Snow Flood Dragon Armor, the Dragon Scale Soul Guard Bell, and the Sky Devouring Cauldron. "I don't care who you are. It has nothing to do with me. This time, I'm here to seek cooperation. I want to take back my father's 15 million celestial coins from Longyang Manor. Once we're done, you go your way and I'll go mine." Li Peiza placed the 3 immortal treasures beside Yi Qinghan. The Sky-Devouring Cauldron was only the size of a palm and 1 foot tall. The ancient killing runes on it were much more terrifying than the immortal runes that Yi Qinghan comprehended. The runes on the surface of the Sky-Devouring Cauldron were very ancient, so it should be an ancient item. Such an item was very terrifying, even a heaven immortal soul couldn't withstand it. The Dragon Scale Soul Guard Bell was of a lower grade than the one given by the Eastern Emperor Immortal. After all, there were no defective goods from the Eastern Emperor Immortal clan. The Snow Flood Dragon Armor was snow-white and looked like an ordinary battle armor. It was soft and tough, and could block 80% of a Mystic Immortal's initial stage attack. After wearing it, one could be armed to the teeth. "Thank you." Yi Qinghan was very excited. He reached out to take the 3 immortal treasures and bowed. Li Peiza stared at Yi Qinghan and asked in a deep voice, "When do we start?" Yi Qinghan pondered for a moment and said seriously, "1 month later, after I've completely refined the 3 immortal treasures, we'll take action. We'll try to cripple the Dragon Sun Prefecture's forces to prevent any repercussions. It's good for your Li family immortal treasure shop and the Qian family." Li Peiza nodded and then cupped his fists to leave. Phew! Yi Qinghan watched Li Peiza leave and let out a breath of turbid air. This Li Peiza was very powerful, but he was only ranked 26th on the heaven list. The young generation of the Center God Province could not be underestimated. Yi Qinghan said in a deep voice, "Patriarch Qian, please supervise the children's cultivation during this month. I need to go into seclusion for a period of time. The longest is 2 months, and the shortest is 1 month. I need time to refine the Heaven-Devouring Cauldron and fuse with the Snow WRM armor. Don't worry, fellow Daoist Yi. Just focus on refining the immortal treasure. If we can cripple Longyang Manor's forces this time, my Qian clan will benefit greatly." Qian Sihai said excitedly. Yi Qinghan nodded silently. Indeed, once the Longyang Manor was crippled, the Qian clan would soar into the sky. They would no longer be suppressed. Every year, they would be able to reduce their expenses by tens of millions. The younger generation of the Qian clan would also advance by leaps and bounds. The Qian clan's forces would also expand rapidly. Moreover, they would no longer need to recruit any more consecrators. This would be another huge expense. Yi Qinghan said indifferently, "Your Qian clan will not lose. These 3 immortal treasures cost 85 million. This one-time expenditure is indeed a lot. However, in the future, your Qian clan will no longer need to find any more consecrators. You will also no longer need to pay any more consecrators to the Longyang Manor. Every year, your expenses will be reduced by at least 40 million. You will get it back in 2 years." How could Qian Sihai not understand? This was the reason why he wanted to gamble. If he won, the Qian clan would experience a qualitative leap. If he lost, it would be no different from handing over 500 million. In any case, the Qian clan would be destroyed. This old man will not disturb Daoist Yi any longer. During this time, I will close the top of the library and not allow anyone to enter. This will give you a safe and quiet place to cultivate. Qian Sihai excitedly retreated. Yi Qinghan looked at the starry sky. After a while, he returned to the pavilion to cultivate. He wanted to refine the sky-devouring cauldron as soon as possible. The sky-devouring cauldron was indeed ancient. The mysterious divine abilities and immortal runes inside were completely different from the immortal runes of today. It would not be easy to refine it within a month. Yi Qinghan looked at the sky-devouring cauldron and played with it. His divine sense roamed around. Time slowly passed. A night had passed, but he still did not take action. The next day, Yi Qinghan dripped a drop of essence and a strand of soul spirit into the sky-devouring cauldron. His hands flipped and formed seals. He mobilized his soul spirit and immortal spiritual energy to fuse with the runes and immortal runes of the sky-devouring cauldron. The difficult immortal runes and runes represented the essence of the sky-devouring cauldron. Mastering the immortal runes and runes meant mastering the sky-devouring cauldron's offensive power. However, while he was comprehending the immortal runes and runes, the sky-devouring cauldron began to devour his life essence. Even his immortal soul could not withstand it. This was indeed a powerful immortal treasure that could not be sold. Mystic immortals would not fancy it, celestial immortals would not be able to withstand it, and golden immortals would not be able to use it. Chicken ribs. A truly chicken ribs weapon. Which idiot researched such a weapon? Yi Qinghan frowned. He wanted to find the flaw of the sky-devouring cauldron to prevent his life essence from being devoured. As time passed, Yi Qinghan realized how powerful the sky-devouring cauldron was. However, he also discovered a problem. The sky-devouring cauldron did not have an immortal artifact spirit. It should not have been born. Or rather, the sky-devouring cauldron did not allow for the birth of an immortal artifact spirit. Even if it was born, it would be devoured by it. This sky-devouring cauldron has its own consciousness? Or is it a living thing by itself? Yi Qinghan was a little surprised. He did not dare to act recklessly. Perhaps this thing could really become stronger by devouring immortal soul essences. A self-evolving mystic immortal grade immortal artifact? Yi Qinghan placed the sky-devouring cauldron in his palm. He could not understand why an immortal artifact would like to devour immortal soul essences. This thing is made from rare materials such as the Heaven and Earth Mystic Mother Metal and Chaos Origin Energy. Although the Heaven and Earth Mystic Mother Metal and Chaos Origin Energy do not have consciousness, they can grow on their own. Therefore, when they were refined into the sky-devouring cauldron, they would rely on devouring immortal soul essences to grow. If I were to continuously feed it with immortal souls of celestial immortals, would it not devour my own life essence? A glint flashed across Yi Qinghan's eyes. He was no saint, and this wasn't the first time he had sacrificed his friends over himself. This idea was only in its initial stages. Yi Qinghan did not dare to be certain. After all, 3 mystic immortal grade experts had used this kind of weapon before. Could it be that they did not think of it? Boss, find someone to test if this thing has its own consciousness. If it can choose its own soul essence, we are going to be rich. The divine bird had been suppressed for a long time. Now that it finally had the chance to escape, it started to nag non-stop. Yi Qinghan narrowed his eyes. He pulled out Little White Fox Immortal and forcefully pulled out her soul. He sent it into the sky-devouring cauldron and urged it to devour Little White Fox Immortal's soul. However, the sky-devouring cauldron was not only devouring Little White Fox Immortal's soul, it was also devouring its own life essence. However, the speed at which it was devouring Little White Fox Immortal's soul was much faster than it was devouring its own life essence. Whoosh! Yi Qinghan released Little White Fox Immortal from the sky-devouring cauldron. Little White Fox Immortal was so scared that she went limp. She could not even control her human form. What is this thing? Little White Fox Immortal asked in horror. Yi Qinghan held the sky-devouring cauldron and said indifferently, "The sky-devouring cauldron devours the life essence of all things. It can even refine the toughest immortal weapon. However, it can also devour its owner's life essence." Chapter 2344. The more he refined the heaven-devouring cauldron, the more he understood, the more fearful he became. For an entire month, Yi Qinghan did not take a single step outside. He focused on comprehending the heaven-devouring cauldron and came to a terrifying conclusion. That was, once the heaven-devouring cauldron was refined, even if it was not suitable for it, it would still devour the owner's life source. The immortal soul would slowly weaken. Once the heaven-devouring cauldron was used, its master-killing power would increase by 3 to 5 times. However, when it devoured the enemy's life source, its master-killing speed would decrease by about 70 to 80%. It was completely negligible. This was an offensive-type immortal weapon that made people despair. Without a doubt, with the heaven-devouring cauldron, Yi Qinghan's combat power was even stronger than when he had the golden bone. He could kill a high-level undying heavenly immortal with a wave of his hand. Of course, those on the heaven ranking were definitely not included. Those existences were already very powerful. Their equipment would not be inferior to Yi Qinghan's, or even stronger. Yi Qinghan took a deep breath. He was somewhat unwilling to use the heaven-devouring cauldron again. This was because he had not found a way to fix the flaws of the heaven-devouring cauldron. I'm not a Xian immortal, and I don't have a physical body. It's very difficult for me to support the heaven-devouring cauldron's master-killing ability. Yi Qinghan gritted his teeth and muttered to himself, "The creator of this heaven-devouring cauldron is a genius. However, I don't understand why he created this cauldron. I don't believe that he did not discover this flaw when he created the first heaven-devouring cauldron. This thing is useless. If worst comes to worst, we can sell this heaven-devouring cauldron after we get rid of the Dragon Sun Manor. Then, we can buy new materials to create a new offensive-type immortal weapon," the Divine Bird suggested. Something that even the Divine Bird disdained did not seem to be very valuable. Yi Qinghan nodded and began to refine the dragon scale soul-protecting bell. This thing was naturally compatible with Yi Qinghan's soul. After all, he had the advantage of the dragon bloodline. The dragon scale soul-protecting bell was completely refined in half a day. It became the strongest power to protect his immortal soul. As long as he activated it slightly, a defensive barrier similar to an ancient bell would appear around his head. Even a Xian immortal could not break it. At most, they could injure Yi Qinghan. Finally, the snow serpent armor was like a sheet of snow. It was very compatible with Yi Qinghan's temperament. When he wore it, he looked like a high and mighty emperor, looking down on all living things. However, the unrefined snow serpent armor's defensive power was still inferior to the refined one. Once he refined the snow flood dragon armor, this layer of armor would be like his skin, his flesh and blood. Yi Qinghan wore the snow WRM armor and sat cross-legged in front of the sword immortal chant. He formed a seal with his palms and his body emitted a faint aura of the 8 trigrams. The snow WRM armor contained the WRM's origin while his body contained the holy dragon's origin. Their origins were connected and a white dragon with golden light appeared on his clothes and swam around his body. A dragon's roar came from the library. It even left the Qian family and rushed out of the city. This roar alarmed Long Yang. He was also a dragon. However, he was a snake that cultivated into a human form. Long Yang could sense the dragon's roar very clearly. This was a pressure that only a high-grade dragon bloodline could produce. The sound was very orthodox. A high-grade dragon bloodline represented a supreme status. Even if he was not a Xian immortal, Long Yang did not dare to offend him. He even had to treat him as an important guest. Cat demon, was that a dragon's roar? Long Yang sat up from the bed in shock. Beside him lay the lazy and seductive cat demon. She was curled up without anything on her body. She hugged Long Yang's thigh. The cat demon was awakened by Long Yang. She opened her sleepy eyes and murmured, "Master? Where is the dragon's roar?" If a high-grade dragon immortal really came to the prefecture city, why didn't the higher-ups inform you in advance so that you could receive him? Long Yang frowned. When he was asleep, he clearly heard a dragon's roar. However, that sound seemed to come from his sea of consciousness. It also seemed to come from outside the city. It was very vague. You didn't hear a dragon's roar just now? Long Yang was a little confused. The cat demon's ears and speed had always been her advantage. Logically speaking, if he heard it, she should have heard it too. The cat demon shook her head. Her jade-like hands caressed Long Yang's huge young object. Her long tongue wrapped around that huge object. Long Yang leaned against the bed. His big hand pressed down on the cat demon's head. He even sent the huge object into the cat demon's throat. He had an intoxicated look on his face. The cat demon did not dare to struggle. She could only swallow with all her might. Long Yang's divine sense expanded outside the door. The powerful Xian immortal divine sense extended outside the Longyang prefecture. Even the spies did not hear the dragon's roar. They were still very calm. They thought that they had heard wrongly. Because of the cat demon's actions, Longyang did not discover Yi Qinghan's identity. This bought Yi Qinghan some time. Longyang prefecture, Long Yang's bedroom. The cat demon took the initiative to sit under Long Yang's waist. She moved up and down to please Long Yang. Long Yang calmed down a little and allowed the cat demon to take the initiative. He still leaned against the bed. His big hands held her two peaks. He asked indifferently, "Did you find out the origin of that Yi phone?" The cat demon made a lascivious expression. Her jade-like hands pressed on Long Yang's big hands and rubbed them. She replied flirtatiously, "According to the report from the spies, this Yi Qinghan might be the Yi Qinghan that was being hunted down by the Endless Peak Mountain. However, there is no confirmed news, so I did not dare to report it. However, there is still a group of spies investigating the ancient Emperor Academy. There should be a reply within 3 days." Long Yang was very satisfied. He immediately took the initiative and pressed the cat demon under his body. Qian family, library pavilion. Yi Qinghan suddenly opened his eyes. He took the initiative to flip through the Sword Immortal Arts manual. A sword move was like a rainbow. It almost left the manual and directly pierced into Yi Qinghan's sea of consciousness. Yi Qinghan subconsciously gathered his qi into a sword and pierced through the void. He killed his way out of the Qian family and went straight out of the city. The sword disappeared into the night outside the city. It was as if a shooting star had appeared in the sky. However, it did not cause too much of an impact because shooting stars were very common. Yi Qinghan stood up, and the qi sword in his hand disappeared. The snow flood dragon armor swayed in the wind, bringing with it a chill. Even though it was a hot summer day, it was still extremely cool to wear it. Coupled with his appearance, he looked even more otherworldly. Yi Qinghan let out a breath of relief. He had already refined the snow flood dragon armor and the dragon scale soul protector bell. After all, he had used this immortal artifact once. As for the heaven-devouring cauldron, it was still a problem. This thing's attack power was indeed very terrifying. Moreover, the heaven-devouring cauldron had an offensive immortal art. As long as he could comprehend this immortal artifact, his attack power would be unparalleled. However, it was too dangerous. If he used it to kill a Xian immortal expert, even if he could maintain a tie, he would still be half dead in the end. Don't. Yi Qinghan quickly walked out of the room and left the library pavilion. When the sky had just brightened, Yi Qinghan went straight to Qian Sihai with a serious expression. "Inform Li Peiza to prepare for the next move. First, we will kill Long Yang's 2 arms. We will strike first and gain the initiative. Don't give him the chance to attack first," Yi Qinghan said in a deep voice. Chapter 23:45. One of Long Yang's 2 main helpers was the cat demon and the other was the half-step profound immortal. They rarely came out and had always been cultivating in the Long Yang manner. Xiao Er was once a legendary figure. When he was young, he was ranked on the heaven ranking. Many people thought that it was only a matter of time before he reached the profound immortal realm. Unfortunately, the people on the heaven ranking were already profound immortals, and some even became big shots. Xiao Er went missing and became a guest elder of the Long Yang manor. Even though he failed to reach the profound immortal realm, his combat strength was already on par with profound immortals. The Long Yang manor didn't stay idle for the past 2 months. Information about Yi Qinghan kept coming back. They were almost 70% sure that Yi Qinghan was the Qian clan's Yi Qinghan that was being hunted down by the endless peak mountain. Time was too short. Without 90% confidence, the Longyang Manor didn't dare to make a move on Yi Qinghan. After all, if Yi Qinghan was really from the ancient Emperor Academy, Longyang wouldn't be able to bear the responsibility. At this moment, Longyang was waiting for news from the East God province. He bought this news with money. Originally, he planned to arrive in Longyang City 2 days later. He didn't expect to arrive early today. One of the 3 major information systems in the immortal realm, the martial record system, sold information and immortal arts. As long as you could afford it, there was no secret art or information that couldn't be bought. Longyang paid 300,000 immortal coins just to find out if Yi Qinghan was from the ancient Emperor Academy. The martial record system only used 2 months to find out if Yi Qinghan was from the ancient Emperor Academy. One had to admit that the martial record system was very powerful. In the main hall of the Longyang Manor, Longyang politely welcomed a middle-aged man in his 40s. He was afraid that he would offend this immortal realm expert. "Ah, I've troubled revered Qi Lian. You came here personally so early in the morning. This manor is very grateful." Longyang smiled. Qi Lian was the manager of the martial record system's Longyang Manor branch. Most people called him revered Qi Lian out of respect because he had the martial record system behind him. Qi Lian didn't care about his status. He bowed and replied, "Manor Lord Longyang is too polite. This is what I should do." Longyang was also rather impatient. After Qi Lian sat down, he immediately asked, "Venerable Qi Lian, what's the news from the East God Prefecture?" Qi Lian smiled and shook his head. "That person should be a fake. According to the news from the East God Province, there hasn't been anyone from the Ancient Emperor Academy going out to train. Also, the people from the Ancient Emperor Academy said that there is someone called Yi Feng, but he is still in the Ancient Emperor Academy. Then that person should be Yi Qinghan." Longyang's eyes flashed. Not only was he not angry, but he was also happy. This was because the bounty on Yi Qinghan had already exceeded 10 million. So, Yi Qinghan was a must-have. Xian immortals would naturally take action for a bounty of 10 million gold coins. Even a city lord would be tempted. Clearly, Longyang was tempted. "Manor Lord Longyang, I suggest you let your subordinates test him. After all, the identity of a student of the Ancient Emperor Academy is too special. If he is really from the Ancient Emperor Academy, it will be troublesome if you act. If you act in secret, even if he is really a student of the Ancient Emperor Academy, he won't be able to find trouble with you." Qi Lian smiled and reminded him. Longyang nodded and thought to himself, "Looks like I have to send Xiao Er. The cat demon is not a match for this person." Soon, Longyang sent Qi Lian away and entered the forbidden area of the Manor Lord Longyang. The strongest person under the Heaven Immortal realm was hidden here, Xiao Er. Everyone in the older generation knew this name, including Qian Sihai. Xiao Er was very dignified. The aura of a king permeated the air. Even Xian immortals would have to bow to him. There were countless experts in the same generation as him, and some had even become big shots. All these years, Xiao Er was too ashamed to meet anyone. He traveled the celestial kingdom alone and eventually became Longyang's consecrate. Longyang quickly entered the forbidden area in the back mountain. He didn't put on the airs of a manor lord and was even respectful. He cupped his fists and said, "Senior Xiao Er, we haven't met for so many years. Have you comprehended the last profound?" Xiao Er had a square face and slanted eyebrows. His chiseled face revealed a trace of helplessness. The thing he regretted the most in his life was comprehending the profound of the 9 extreme yin-yang immortal scripture. The profound of the 9 extreme yin-yang immortal scripture was one of the 10 profound of the Center God province. It was very powerful, but it wasn't that easy to comprehend. Xiao Er, who was ranked on the heaven ranking, had been comprehending it for so many years, but he was still stuck below the Xian immortal realm. Because of this profound, the resources he needed to break through were countless times more than others. Whether it was resources or mental state, he couldn't step into the Xian immortal realm. This situation almost drove him crazy. Phew! Xiao Er leaned on the stone tablet and exhaled a mouthful of turbid air. He said in a deep voice, "There is no improvement. This old man really wants to destroy the profound of the 9 extreme yin-yang immortal scripture and cultivate again." Long Yang slightly raised the corner of his mouth and reminded him, "If you destroy it and cultivate again, won't your efforts be wasted?" When had Xiao Er ever been willing? If he would have destroyed his cultivation technique and cultivated again. This damn profound of the 9 extreme yin-yang immortal scripture was ridiculously powerful. Although he was at the peak of the immortal heaven immortal realm, it wasn't difficult to deal with an ordinary Xian immortal realm expert. Even Long Yang might not be Xiao Er's opponent. Thus, Xiao Er was reluctant to waste so many years on this power Upanishad. "Senior Xiao Er, I know you are lacking in resources. I have a mission here. I wonder if you are interested in doing it?" Long Yang asked with a smile. Xiao Er's eyes flashed. He glanced at Long Yang and asked indifferently, "What mission?" "The ultimate peak mountain is looking for a person. He is an immortal heaven immortal realm expert, but he can almost fight against a Xian immortal realm expert. The bounty is over 10 million. He is now in my Dragon Sun city. If you are interested, you can capture him." Long Yang said seriously. Xiao Er raised his eyebrows. It was not impossible for an immortal heaven immortal realm expert to fight against a Xian immortal realm expert. For example, he could kill an immortal heaven immortal realm expert, but this kind of existence was not common. "What is his name? What is his background?" Xiao Er went straight to the point and asked directly. Long Yang knew that Xiao Er was tempted. He bowed and replied, "His name is Yi Qinghan. In the Chen family, he changed his name to Yi Feng. He came from a remote and weak world and ascended. If Senior is interested, I will give this wanted criminal worth 10 million to you." Xiao Er stared at Long Yang. In name, he was a consecrator, and Long Yang was the master. However, Long Yang did not dare to treat him as an ordinary consecrator. Junior admired Senior's spirit very much back then. "My Dragon Sun mansion is short of money. Otherwise, I would have gathered resources for Senior. Now that there is such a good opportunity, Junior naturally hopes that you can grasp it." Long Yang was afraid that Xiao Er would be suspicious, so he immediately explained. Xiao Er nodded and replied indifferently, "It's fine. It doesn't matter even if you use me. It is normal for me to eat your salary and do things for you." After saying that, Xiao Er asked about Yi Qinghan's information and left the Dragon Sun mansion. He directly stepped into the Qian family in broad daylight. You're tuning in to the Passion Pages YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.